Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Chatting With. Joining me today is our good friend here, the Kingerd. Welcome back, Kingerd. How you been?
Oh, doing good, man. Doing good. How are you?
Good. We are doing Chatting With. It's not the same Chatting With as we do. I just figured, you know what? I'm not going to change the name and do different things for the podcast. I figured he's coming on the show. He's chatting with me. It's Chatting With. That's what we're doing, right? So you're you're the leader. You're on the show 3 times now.
Don't put that on me. Don't put that on me.
You're 3 times the Chatting With. Chat, please give a warm welcome to the Kingerd coming back for his third appearance on Chatting With. The first interview, the second interview, and now I think you're like the 7th or 8th interview. So welcome back. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing good. When you told me we were coming up on, or no, I caught it on one of your shows recently. You said we were coming up on a year since I first came on your show.
Yeah, because I started reacting to you like I want to say like October, November, and then the first time we did this was in like January, I think it was. Which is
insanity.
Nuts.
That is crazy.
it's a nuts. Yeah. So you wanted to come on the show, and I was like, yeah, anytime you want to come on, let's do this and chat about stuff. So like we have like small little topics that we want to like talk, but we could talk about anything. So if you wherever the conversation goes, whatever you want to talk about, like naturally, unnaturally, it doesn't really matter. So
I'll go unnatural. Halo rebrand. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Halo rebrand. Right? We talked about it on Monday with the Unreal Engine. It was rumored like 2 years ago. I actually looked up one of my videos from 2 years ago, and I was talking about how Halo was trying to do Unreal Engine. Everyone's like, no, it's never going to happen. I was like, it could happen, and now it is happening. So you're a big Halo fan. You're a much bigger Halo fan than I was. I stopped around ODST where I really loved it, right? And it just kind of fell off.
Does it mess with the camera if I do this?
It does.
Can you tell what I'm doing?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. I can't see anything that you're talking about with the Halo in the background with the Xbox 360. Yeah. So, like, what do you think of this happening with 343 changing their name to Halo Studios to fool everyone? It's not 343 anymore. And what do you think about them going to Unreal Engine?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Okay, so
brother.
Look, I'm not gonna piss in anyone's Cheerios. Okay, maybe a little bit, maybe a dribble, but
you're gonna take a dump. You're gonna take a dump.
No. So I don't like to give a ton of details about my day job, but I'll say here that I deal with should we rebrand versus should we not rebrand with companies kind of regularly. So it's a topic of discussion that I feel like I can speak on. It's a good thing. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase. It's not a bad thing to be excited about Halo. Okay. It's not a bad thing to be a fan of the series. I am. And to want good things from it, and to see the first bit of actual announcement for the first time in like 2-3 years that actually says, hey, there's a future for Halo past Infinite, and be excited about that. There's nothing wrong with that. However, what do they say on Game of Thrones? Everything before the word but,
right.
But a rebrand, I like to put it as it's the difference between a rectangle and a square. Let's go back to 8th grade geometry here. When you have 4 right angles and 4 lines, 100% of the time, it is a rectangle. Always.
Right.
Sometimes it is a square. Not always. Now, when you rebrand a company, 100% of the time, it is about wanting to change the public's perception. That's the rectangle. The rectangle is public perception. We want people to think of our company differently. Always. The square, it's not always an actual indication of tangible internal changes or developmental changes. It's not always. It can be a square, but it's not always. So when they released the video, Halo: A New Dawn. It's a new dawn. The old recipe of Halo is gone. This is our new recipe going forward. Guess what they've said for the last 3 Halo games that have spanned across the last 12 years? Every single time, I promise you, go back to the promotional videos for 4, 5, and Infinite. You will see a different set of faces every time, mostly, saying how much they love Halo. They're so passionate about Halo. They can't wait to get their next Halo game in the hands of players. They learned so many lessons from their last Halo game. And what do we get? 4, Frank O'Connor said we're not copying other popular games. We got custom classes, sprint, and score streaks, so Call of Duty. Halo 5, they gave us Hunt the Truth, which was a masterfully crafted, might I add, promotional campaign with a story that is unironically better than Halo 5's story. And what do we get in Halo 5? Not that. It was like a Chief is responsible for slaughtering people at a peace rally. He's on the run. He's the galaxy's hero, is now an outlaw. This is great. Halo 5 was, he said no to one order, and then we play as somebody that we don't know, chasing him for 80% of the campaign. Anyway, and then Halo Infinite, the future of Halo. It's a platform for the next 10 years of Halo. It's going to be dead in like 3. It arguably died in its first year.
Right.
Slipspace, it's a huge investment. It's going to be what we're going to use to catapult the Halo franchise into the future. Well, guess what? They're moving to Unreal. So all I'm saying is that, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, fool me 4 times doesn't exist. We don't make it that far.
Hey, they'll make it up as they go.
So different. They've made three games. And in fact, let me put it in perspective like this. It's been 12 years since I'm going to call them 343. Since 343 has released a complete Halo game at launch. Halo 4 was the last complete Halo game at launch. And depending on who you ask, that wasn't complete either. Halo 5 was not complete. They had to drip feed stuff to that. Halo Infinite was not even close.
Yeah,
Halo Infinite inspired me to make my main channel. Go back to my earliest videos. They're Halo. That's how maddening it was as a Halo fan. So 12 years, they have not made a complete Halo game since. And now they're telling us we're expanding our studio. We're taking on several Halo projects. Hey, we know we laid off half of you a year ago, but come work for us. We're the future of Halo.
Right. That whole video was a marketing tool to get developers to come and work for the studio. Right. Like,
absolutely.
The worst, I've said this before, the best 343 Halo is still the worst Bungie Halo. Right. Like that's the best 343 Halo they've created. It's
worse than the worst Bungie Halo.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Their best is still worse than the worst Bungie Halo.
Absolutely.
Right. And here's one thing I'll give him credit for. Right. And I said this because Phil Spencer, it was like last year, it all blends together. He said that he's going around when he got all these new studios and they've let a lot of people go, but he said, we're asking people what they want to work on, And I said, this is actually a good thing if he's actually doing this, right? Because if you 343, just like what was the company, Arcane Studio that made Redfall, right?
Arcane Austin.
Yeah, they did not want to make Redfall, right? They were told this is the game you're making, right? So it's just like when you're a kid and your mom tells you go empty the trash or you're like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to do that, right? Because you're being told to do it and you're just not excited about doing it. But if someone tells you to go do something that you enjoy, you're like, let's go, let's do it, right? You have passion about it, you want to go do it, right? Well, Arcane didn't have passion about what they were doing, and that's why Redfall was what it was. 343, I don't feel ever had the passion after that first Halo that they did. They're like, all right, you're taking over this great brand from Bungie. We're doing the Halo franchise. And at that moment, the very first one they made, I feel like they had passion about it, but they failed like stupendously. Like they were just really bad at making Halo. Okay. Where now Phil Spencer's like, who wants to make Halo? Can we find people that are passionate? Like if they approached you, Kingerd, right? You love Halo. If they said, we would like you to come work for Halo Studios, what would you do? Would you take the job?
I'd have to ask them what they want.
But no, but you know what I'm saying? Like if you're passionate about Halo and you want Halo to be better, right? They're trying to do that. I believe they are trying to do that.
I think the answer you're looking for is yes, because I'm passionate. But the cynical side of me says, well, I can't program things, so I'd have to.
Right, but
I think I get what you're going for.
Even if they brought you in for community manager and you wanted to talk about
of course.
it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think they're looking for that passion. I think they're looking for those people that don't just want a job; they want the job that they want. Like, you know what I mean? They want to make Halo, and they're like, yeah. And
I'm not just showing up to work every day. I'm doing something I'm genuinely excited about.
Right. And Halo Studios is not going to be working on Forza. Halo Studios is not going to be working on Fable. Halo Studios is not going to be working on Sea of Thieves. Halo Studio is working on Halo. So I get the rebrand. I get what they're trying to do. But the cynical is of me as well goes, well, just like you said, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Like that is the problem. I don't trust what Microsoft is doing. I don't trust what they're trying to do with Halo, even though from the public perception, as you said in the very beginning, it looks like we hear you, we're listening, we're making those changes, and I want to believe that. But at the same time, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Do you know what the very first thing they announced about Halo Infinite before they even announced the name of the game?
No, what did they announce?
They said, because we've been listening to fans, the only thing we can confirm about the next main Halo FPS title is that it will have split screen.
And it didn't have a split screen. Oh,
guess what Halo Infinite 3 years after launch still doesn't have?
Yeah.
Campaign split screen. I believe it has multiplayer split screen now. It does not have campaign split screen.
Well, it didn't launch with co-op, and that was a big no-no for me.
Right.
Big
didn't
no-no
have Forge, didn't have co-op, had 4 game modes total. Custom games browser wasn't there. But by God, that shop had its items, baby. It had its $20 skins.
Right.
So yeah, no, you're right. And it's very much like, I want this to be true, but we need show, not tell.
Right.
Don't tell us what you're going to do, because you've already told us how passionate you are, how much you love Halo. But another thing about my line of work is it's actually really funny to me how often people who don't have to earn what they have end up totally sucking eggs and just botching it. Like you build up a book of business for yourself over 10 years, whatever job it is. Say you're a salesman of something. And it comes to the day where you need to hand off that book of business to somebody else who doesn't have a book of business.
Right. You're gonna pry it from my dead hands.
You're going to pry it from my cold dead fingers. And
Yeah.
you're trusting that person with taking this thing that you've carefully crafted and fine-tuned and built. And what I see more, I can't put a percentage to it, but more often than not, the person that gets handed that book of business that they did not make themselves, they lose it or they take it for granted. And I see the same thing with 343 and Microsoft, really, even though Microsoft owned the IP from the beginning.
Right.
Whenever Bungie parted ways with them.
Well, you just brought up a good point. Now, do you think this is the reason they're swapping it from Slipspace to Unreal Engine? Because if they kept it in Slipspace, right, that's still Bungie. That's still their Halo. That is still the legacy of what they build. Now it's just the IP of Halo, right? And now this is Halo Studio in a brand new engine, and then this is their Halo, right? This is their, even though it's the IP, and we all hate this because they're changing the IP, or they're changing, like, even if they gave us, what would you rather have? New stories in a new engine, or would you rather have the old games built in the new engine? You see what I'm saying? Like, if they just came out and said, we're making Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again, but now in the Unreal Engine, and we're re-releasing it, are you excited about that? Or would you be excited about continuing Halo or brand new Halo? Like, do we make Unreal Engine Halo 6, Halo 7, Halo 8, or do we make Halo 1, 2, and 3 in a new era?
So I have several thoughts that are going to combine into one on the Unreal thing. So for starters, I think it's pretty common knowledge now. 343 has never outright said this. Neither has Microsoft. That Slipspace was a disaster. They built this, basically a hyper fixed version of the Blam engine that was tailor made so that they could do a live service Halo game, and it failed because the code is so old, and they swap in contractors every 18 months. It was development and upkeep of that engine's a nightmare. So I do believe that switching to Unreal is kind of a necessity just to be able to make games, but they've never actually admitted that. They've never said that publicly, to my knowledge. That's
they would never admit.
Yeah, because just 4 years ago they were touting it as a huge investment, future of Halo, blah blah. So that's piece number one, is that it's because they need to be able to just make games. Number two, bringing in people who know Unreal already saves a lot of time.
Yep.
Versus bringing someone in, hey, we're going to teach you the Slipspace engine. Oh, your contract's up. See ya. Next, they don't have to do that anymore. But as far as the whole, like, this is our Halo now, this is who we are, sort of. I think that's sort of there, but they've already done that for the last 12 years. They did that with every Halo game to date. they have pitched the same thing. This is the future. This is our Halo.
Right.
So I don't think that is a primary factor. I think that's more of a symptom than the cause. And the cause is that they were struggling with Slipspace. They couldn't keep up. And now they're moving to Unreal to save time and money, most likely. However, Unreal Engine to me doesn't fix the problems that we've had with 343 over the last 12 years.
Right.
Unreal doesn't fix bad writing. Unreal doesn't fix corporate apathy. It doesn't fix corporate greed. It doesn't fix bad leadership. And now, granted, the blanket term people like to use is leadership, and I'll try not to do that. But in this sentence, I will do it. Leadership is gone. People like to say the leadership
Right.
of 343. So what they're referring to is Frank O'Connor, Kiki Wolfkill, and Bonnie Ross. All three of them are gone. That's a fact. They're gone. What people seem to just either not think about or overlook, those three people weren't running the show entirely by themselves.
Right.
Daddy Microsoft still owns Halo. That hasn't changed. And Microsoft has yet to prove they can handle owning a studio or an IP, at least in recent years. So the whole idea that, oh, well, those three are gone. Now it'll be good. It's like, dude, that all of Halo's woes didn't rest on those three shoulders and nobody else's. So yes, they were a huge part of it. They fundamentally misunderstood almost everything there was to know about Halo. Yes, but they are not alone. There are others who are complicit. And so my main point is just that we need to see more than pretty graphics, because pretty visuals is not. I don't think anyone.
So far.
Yeah, so far. I don't think anyone actually ever complained about graphical fidelity with Halo games since 343 took over. Art style was a conversation for sure, but not the way that it looks. So the big kicker here is going to be, we're using Unreal. It'll be easier to work for us. Come work for us. But I need to see, I'll tell you what I need to see. I need to see content at launch, what the next Halo game is going to have the day it ships. And I don't need to hear it. I need to see it, because we've been told before.
We call that in our channel, make a game. Is what we call it.
Yeah. We need to see that they've made a game. I want them to show us how Forge works, how custom games works, campaign, multiplayer, all of it before launch. They will not have the balls to do this. You ready? I want to see their monetization structure before launch. I want to see exactly how they plan on milking their gamers dry. It's so arrogant of them, but they had their tail tucked between their legs. Okay, so are they going to charge $30 skins? Is it going to be loot boxes again? Is it going to be battle passes again? What are they going to do? Progression and monetization. I need to see that before I will even consider being excited for the next Halo game before launch. And I don't think they're going to show us that.
So do you think that one of the reasons they're moving to Unreal Engine is because the modding space of what's happening with like Fortnite right now, how they're opening it up to, like, I don't know, did you watch the Unreal Engine thing that happened a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
About like Teenage Ninja Turtles coming into the thing and how people can build like Teenage Ninja Turtle games or first person aspects of the game and whatnot. Do you think that not only is it easier for the developers to make content right for the new Halo, but do you think Microsoft in the long run is looking at this going, yeah, let's use Unreal, not only because we can't keep up with the content, but if we, just like the Forge, right? Forge basically makes us make content for ourselves, so we keep ourselves busy because we like making that stuff.
The community's making content for them, and they don't even have to do it. Yeah.
Where Unreal Engine is going to 10 times, 100 times that now with the Unreal Engine 5 and what people can do with that community engine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's I think one of the main reasons they're putting it over, so they don't have to make all the content, and they're looking at us to make the content.
Well, there's for sure going to be that. They've been very clear that they have no problem using Forge created titles or Forge created maps and games in their main rotations, which that's part of the Halo community. If people want to do that, then they do that. Right. I think the top forgers that take years to make a game mode, like there's a Helldivers mode launching October 25th from Forge Falcons. They're making that. The same people that made the Battle Royale, and they're making something else. I can't remember what. I believe those kinds of people should be paid, but that's different conversation for a different day. I think part of the switch to Unreal I don't want this, but I think this is where it's going. I think they're going to try to do the Call of Duty platform approach with Halo. I
Mm.
could see them having the multiplayer or like an app as like a hub, and then adding a campaign to it every couple of years, adding different multiplayer modes to it, so that it can all be in one place. Because the Master Chief Collection, despite its launch issues, has been a big success for them. It's a game that people still regularly play as a community 10 years after it launched. And so I think they want to they're going to try to replicate that from the ground up in Unreal. Similar, not like let's bring in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but like, hey, let's have a place where all of our Halo games are accessible from one location.
Yeah, well, here's what I think is going to happen. I feel like the community will build the old Halo games for them with the Unreal Engine, 1-to-1. They will build the Unreal, like with the Unreal Engine. The community members will literally build a 1-to-1.
Oh yeah,
Halo
no
1,
doubt, because
2.
people do it. People
Yeah.
have done that in Halo Infinite already.
Yeah,
Like you can go on Infinite's custom browser right now and
that's
find
crazy to me.
recreated maps that are levels from the original Halo.
What do you think as far as where was I going to go with this one? I'm just trying to think Halo in general, because you never answered the question. Do you want them to go in a new route, like brand new story, and continue on?
Oh yeah, you're right. I never answered
Or
that question.
it's okay. Or do you want them to recreate the Halo that we've loved in the past?
I don't have a problem with them testing out Unreal by releasing a Unreal version of Halo 1.
But not to charge people for it. Just
They can charge for it. Should it be worth $70? No. But I don't have a problem with them being like, "Hey, here's our remake of Halo 1 in Unreal, $40. Here you go."
right.
Just to kind of show that they can do it. And even doing that with all their games, I don't mind that. I would prefer to get new experiences. I would prefer to, because Halo is like the Star Wars of Microsoft. There's so many things you can do with it, but
Oh, absolutely.
for some reason they
They
constrain
don't.
themselves to mainline titles only, Master Chief only. There's entire galaxy. There's different species and factions and wars going on and points in time. It's like, dude, y'all y'all have got a gold mine of content here and you're not tapping into it. So if I had to choose between the two, I would rather them move on to new experiences. The old Halo games are still there. They can still be played right now. And nothing's going to take that away so long as you own physical. Nothing's going to take that.
Which nobody will. Yeah.
Right. Nothing can take that away. So yeah, but I think what they're going to do though, I think they're going to do a bit of both. I think we're going to see some remakes. They might try to pull a Capcom. They're probably looking at Capcom
Sorry.
and thinking, well, Capcom's doing really well remaking all their Resident Evil games right now. They haven't had to make a new Resident Evil title in a few years now, but they've still released 1, 2, 3 remakes, and people are excited about their next one. So
Right.
yeah, they probably can see that. So I think a Halo 1 remake is probably on the way. I was skeptical. Now I'm not after seeing that New Dawn video, because that's the Mark V armor from the first game. It looks like the freaking Pacific Northwest, like the first game. So I think that's where it's going, at least for the time being.
During that video, they talk about what it means to them. And I thought on Monday when I talked about it, I was like, that is not what Halo is. They were talking about how it's competitive and all this. I was like, that is not why people played Halo.
They did that with Halo Infinite, yes.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is the original Halo wasn't about competitiveness as far as like Major League Gaming, right?
Right.
The first Halo was about how fun it was. Yes, there was PvP in it and it was very popular, but it wasn't about, there wasn't that esports aspect to it. It was grab a television, grab your box, bring it to a friend's house, have LAN parties, have all this stuff. And it wasn't about the competitiveness. It was about how much fun it was to do this thing that they created in that world. And yet when they said, oh, Halo is very competitive and I'm like, is it though? Like the reason it is now, because I used to work and I used to film Major League Gaming, and it was mind-boggling. It was amazing to see in the competitive space. But that's not what I remember Halo for. I remember the LAN parties. I remember just having late nights battling my friends in those PvP arenas,
Right.
but not because it was competitive, because it was just fucking fun.
Well, what they haven't figured out since, well, they still haven't figured it out actually. Maybe since Halo 3. Halo has room for both. Someone in chat, Ron Slusher, says there's a generation gap between Halo 1 players and Halo Infinite players. That's very true. The
Sure.
landscape of gaming looks very different now than it does then. And if they release a game now, they need to appeal to gamers now. But when they go on camera and start spouting off about Halo's always been competitive, it's in its DNA. It's like, no, it wasn't. There's a difference between competitive and bro competitive. Like when you're sitting down, you got a couple of beers on your coffee table, a pizza between you and your friend, and you're screaming at each other. That doesn't mean the game's competitive. It mean it's there's a difference between that and like
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
$1 million prize jackpot on a world stage at a world championship. Like that's not the same thing. So they fundamentally misunderstood that. Like 4 was leaned more towards, I think 4 was a little too casual. 5 was too competitive. And then Infinite, with between its skill-based matchmaking and unbalanced sandbox, just hasn't really been for anybody. So they have yet to figure, and Call of Duty has the same problem. They have yet to figure out that you can have room for both. It's okay to split the player base that way specifically, because you got people who want accessibility and you've got people that want a challenge, and they don't. You keep forcing them into a room together. They just piss each other off. And then you have a fan base that becomes toxic and implodes on itself. So Halo can be competitive. They can keep having their championships. It's about all they have going for them right now. But keep your social game mode. Infinite has finally figured that out 3 years in. Now there's like totally casual game modes that are like bazookas for everybody, like that kind of thing. Like everyone, that's going on. But again, it took them 3 years to figure that out. So you can have room for both. I think Halo has room for both. They just need to stop pretending that competitive is where Halo is just to try to sell tickets to their world championships. Like it's annoying, and nobody in the player base falls for it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they want to make as much money as possible, so that's why they say what it is. And I think another reason they said it, what I don't like, what they also said in the thing is that they have multiple Halo games in the works. I was like, why would you say that?
Yeah,
like just make one good, right? Don't.
That's what I'm saying. It's been 12 years since they made a full game at launch. Just give us one.
Yeah,
I'm not convinced they can make one game. Why are you telling? Well, again, like you said, that whole video,
like 5 games in the works.
Yeah, like you said, that entire video was a hiring pitch. And what people who are looking for a job, what they want to hear is, oh, that's work stability. That's job stability.
Well,
they're working on several games. I can finish work on this game and move. And maybe my skill is in one specific part of programming. I can do that for 5 different games. I don't have to be done after I'm done on the first game. The player base, we have functioning set of eyes, ears, and
our expectations are now, they're like, oh, 5 games. What are they going to make? They're going to make Halo. They're going to make a kart racer Halo. They're going to make a...
Somebody keeps saying kart racer in your chat. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
that's already there. Go to custom games. People have rebuilt several Mario Kart tracks in Halo Infinite, and it's very fun.
I love that stuff.
It's very fun.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I haven't played. We played Halo Infinite, I think it was 11 months ago. We played it for one night on stream, and I never went back. I lost complete love for it. I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to play. I didn't play it for 3 years. Why am I playing it now? Yeah, I'd
be lying if I said I didn't like the content that's there now, because I actually do. But I think it's a what's it called? A harsh but fair lesson that if it takes you 3 years after launch to get to a place you should have been at launch, you deserve your player base moving on to something else.
Well, this is what I say all the time: broke, buggy, and unfinished when they launch, and you wait, 18 months to 24 months for them to fix and finish the game. By that time, your player base has already moved on to something else that's broke, buggy, and unfinished. Right?
Yep.
So,
yeah, that's my thoughts on the Halo rebrand, man. I am very, if I had to summarize it, I am very neutral. It doesn't do anything to excite me. It doesn't quell any of my concerns. In fact, it opens up a couple new concerns. But I will be waiting in the wings for them to show us and not just tell us, and show us something other than the fact that Unreal is being used.
I'm going to make you the best dinner. Ooh, just wait. I'm going to make you the best dinner. It's going to be the greatest thing you've ever eaten in your entire life. And then you get it and it's like, what is this?
In fact, you can pre-order this dinner right now, and I'll give you an extra dollop of butter whenever you get it.
Real quick, let me thank JW for membership for 14 months. Thank you very much. He says, oh, snap, 30 in the Kingerd. What a great night. Hope all is well. Yes, everything's good on my end for the storms, so we're all good. Thank you very much for the continued support. Appreciate you. Let's see. All right, let's go to Ubisoft.
Real quick, that is correct, Krebsy, what he said about certain affinity and Unreal and BR. Well, correct as in that's all the rumors point that direction, yes.
Yeah, Halo BR. Yeah, I hate the whole BR thing.
I'm burnt out on battle royales, but dude, Halo would be so perfect for one. PvPvE, I mean, it's begging for that. Anyway,
yeah, but my problem though is that BR. Well, we'll talk about it. The BR would take over then. Then it wouldn't be Halo anymore. It would be a completely different.
Yeah, I think you'd have Warzone disorder where everything focuses on that, and I agree. But my solution to that would be don't just do a BR, do a bunch of different PvE modes. They already showed they can do it. Warzone, the Halo's Warzone, not Call of Duty's Warzone. Halo's Warzone in Halo 5 was the best thing they did in that game. Remove the pay-to-win loot boxes and just focus on the game type alone. It's the best thing they did, and they just scrapped it. So,
I don't know. I just feel like certain games. I feel like certain games, like I talked about Battlefield all the time. Like I hate that Battlefield is trying to be Call of Duty. Just make Battlefield Battlefield. Just make Halo Halo. Just make Call of Duty Call of Duty. Stop. Every game wants to try to copy the other game that's being big right now, and instead of just doing what you're known for. Like Battlefield's been around for this many years. What, 20 years? Not because it was trying to copy another game, because it was Battlefield. You know what I mean? Halo's been around because it's Halo. And this is why I hate where they're just all trying to copy, like, oh, the Battle Royale is the thing, the hero shooter's the thing. I hate that stuff, man. If everything's the same, then...
When every game just becomes a conglomeration of the same writhing mass, then people are going to just gravitate to the most popular one. It happens every time. Ask Concord how that's going. How's it going trying to be an unoriginal hero shooter?
I'm sorry, what game are you talking about?
Maybe there's space in the landfill next to the ET cartridges.
Well, Concord's making a comeback.
I saw.
No, I actually said, because the wording they used when they first said Concord was being deleted, I was like, oh, well, they're putting it on the back shelf. Obviously, they could still scrap it 100%. But I think they're in the background right now trying to figure out, but they got to fundamentally change that game from the ground up. They can't just go put good-looking characters in the game and re-release it as a free-to-play. That's never going to work.
Oh, what'll be hilarious is if they release the exact same game again, and all they've done is created a shop and made the game free-to-play. That would not shock me at all. Would not surprise me.
Someone said in our chat, I forget where it was, someone said, watch, I think it was Crowded, or someone said it. He said, watch they re-release the game, but they have the same characters as they have now, but they just release better-looking skins that you can purchase to make them better-looking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see it 100%. Microtransactions galore and free to play. Concord, we should call it Cockroach. No matter how many times you flush it down the bowl, it keeps climbing back up. We how many times we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Nobody bought your game. We thought we killed you. We thought you were dead. It's gonna come back.
Just keeps coming back. Son of a bitch. Just kill it.
Yeah.
Real quick, super chat from Kuda Papa says, "Who's ready for failure number 2? Price is gonna rocket." Thank you for the $2 super chat. I think Concord's going to come back. I don't think they're going to scrap it. I think they've invested so much money into it. Concord itself is going to be like a $500 to $600 million game when it's done. But Sony wouldn't have spent that much money. They've only spent about $300 to $350 million on it. And I think, look, with the cosmetics and the microtransactions and the live service, they can make that back real fast if they're investing that. You know what I mean? So I think they take the risk and put that extra $100 million or $150 million on top of it to see if in the long run they can actually get something, even if it lasts a year, right? Mm-hmm. Even if it lasts a year, I think they can make their money back from it.
I think you're right, because if even Halo Infinite can become profitable over time, I think they might be thinking the same with Concord.
Yeah, because I think there was a stat that said a live service game has an 86% chance of making its money back, and they'll take that risk every single time.
Yeah, it's a good risk to take as a company. It is. It's just when that if you're in that 14% that doesn't, that's a lot of money gone because
Right.
they got to spend money to keep the servers up and to keep
Sure.
people on the game, to create updates and meaningful events to keep people coming back. It's not just, hey, we made a game, ship it, and let's make our money. Like, it's a full-time job for people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an ongoing investment. So yeah,
absolutely.
I think you're probably right. I think we will see Concord return in some capacity. They've got a heck of a hill to fight, or a heck of a hill to climb up, man. It's just the public perception is so in the dumps for them.
They come back and they make it like the First Ascendant, free to play, unlock the heroes. The heroes will look much better. They'll pay for skins, have the story plot points and stuff like that. That's my guess. That's it, chat. I'm putting my fingers to my head. That's it. The future. That's what I'm predicting. I believe they make it like a First Ascendant type of game, which is funny because there's other games coming out. Which are our next topic, which I don't know if you saw, Destiny Rising. Okay, Destiny Rising is a new mobile game coming out by NetEase that's making a game about Destiny. Okay, it's called Destiny Rising. It's a mobile game. Okay, are you excited about a mobile game, Kingerd? I know
I have a phone. I have a phone. That's about it, though.
Yeah. So this is going to be a 100% full-fledged mobile game. Okay, made by NetEase. So when I say NetEase, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
A neti pot, but that's not what you wanted me to say. I don't know.
No.
What is it?
Microtransactions.
Oh, well, when you had me at microtransactions when you said mobile game.
Yeah, well, right. But then NetEase on top of that, so then it's even more egregious as far as so the game. The way they're describing the game is that it's not a looter shooter like Destiny. Did you ever play Destiny? I think you did, right? You played Destiny.
Oh yeah. Some of my best memories with my gaming friends was like within that first year and a half of Destiny 2.
Yeah, so they're making a Destiny game, but it's set in a different universe. It's an alternate universe. Okay, it's before the Great Fall in the other universe. Okay, so it's during the what is it? The Rise of Iron. It's with the what were they called? The Iron Lords. The Iron Lords. It was during that time frame. So there's going to be different characters that you get to use. You get to use Ikora and maybe Zavala and different characters that you know, and then other characters that you don't know. Okay, and they'll each have their own special abilities and powers and whatnot. There'll be guns to get to use, but it's not a looter. It's more of like set guns that are already there. I'm not really too sure. They really didn't go into too much detail.
So leaning more towards RPG.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi RPG. Okay, and the way it describes, again, it feels like the First Ascendant. Have you played the First Ascendant?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I feel like Transformers Reactivate is going to be what First Ascendant is, which is Warframe. I feel like that's what this game is. Destiny Rising feels like it's going to be pick a character, use that character to unlock other characters. Each character will have its own like story, sort of like Bunny had, or what was the other character in the game? She's the poison one. I forget. Chat. What's the one with the poison? The hot smoking poison one. Freya. That's what her name is. So I think they're going to each have their own little stories that they can tell and you unlock. And I think that's what you're going to make for the microtransactions. I think you're either time spent in the game by unlocking the thing or pay to convenience where you're going to unlock the character for a price point. I think that's what's going to happen. Freya, thank you. Yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe they didn't want to take the risk on PC and console. That they didn't want to change up the formula too much.
Well, here's the thing. Bungie has nothing to do with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I wonder if maybe they didn't want to muddy the waters by releasing a totally different kind of Destiny, because that's an untapped market for Destiny so far, right? There's nothing mobile available for Destiny to date.
No,
so
this will be the first mobile.
I'll be honest, a First Ascendant version of Destiny that leans more towards RPG and less towards looter, that's an interesting idea to me. I'll be honest. I think,
but it's on mobile. Are you interested?
Right. That's right. That's where it loses me completely. I will never play it for as long as I live, and that's a guarantee. I just won't. So
I said it earlier today. I was like that is marketed towards potentially like my son, right? Because the kids nowadays use mobile phones, tablets, laptops. They don't care what they use. They just use it, and it's normal for them. You're way younger than I am, and this is out of my range. Like I do not like. Don't get me wrong. Someone, I think Just Hilly said it earlier in my stream. I have no problem playing, like, I was on vacation. I was playing, like, Fallout 76. I was playing First Ascendant. I was playing on my phone because I had no other option to play on a bigger screen or anything. I was just playing on my phone. And I'm okay playing those games on the phone, but I don't want to play full-time on the phone for that game. You know what I mean?
If gaming were a job, which some games want it to be, but let's if gaming were a job, I don't want to play my full-time job on my phone. Like
Right.
my Halos, my whatever the games you play more than anything else. Like your the Division 2 maybe or
Right.
Borderlands. Don't want to play that on my phone. But if I want to, I'm waiting in line at the DMV and I want to
Right.
throw in a game of
I'm in a
Clash
raid
Royale.
right now.
I
Number 10.
wanna-
Number 10. Number
Yeah.
10.
I'll play a game of Clash Royale real quick. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I spend a lot of time. Well, I was about to say I spend a lot of time around kids. I spend a lot of time around kids. I spent a decent amount of time. I'm the cool uncle at this point because I play video games and I can speak video game language to the kiddos. And
I just pictured you walking up with the skateboard like Steve Buscemi.
how do you do, fellow kids?
Yeah. How?
Well, so the sentiment I hear from a lot of these younglings is most of the time they just repeat ad nauseum. They word vomit whatever their favorite streamer said. But a lot of them say Destiny's dead. Oh, Destiny, that game's dead. Like you don't even know what dead means, but whatever. So it might be marketed to younger folks who are more playing on the phones, but I think more than anything else, it's the one corner of the gaming market that Destiny hasn't touched yet because it's got console, it's got PC. Now they want to go mobile. I do find it odd that it's a totally different company and a totally different type of game. But at the same time, I think there's room for that in the Destiny universe. So as a concept, I think that sounds really cool. But then, it's going to be microtransaction riddled. It's going to be pay to progress, maybe even pay to win. I don't know. Yeah.
They have one video during the doc where the vid doc where they have 6 people sitting around a table and they're all playing on like the backbone or they're playing on a tablet and they're all touching the screen. Like I hate playing on mobile with I love using the backbone and so I don't have to touch my fingerprints on the screen. They're all playing with their fingers on the screen. I was like, oh,
I can't do that.
I can't.
It just feels
like,
weird.
Yeah, it's.
I'll do the Xbox
bad.
Play Anywhere. Like I'll mirror my Xbox to my phone, and even then, like I'd rather just have a controller in my hand. I don't like pressing the buttons on the screen.
Yep. Yeah, the backbone's a real. I used to have just a controller with a little plastic 3D printed thing that you clip onto your controller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it just holds it. But now I just have the backbone, and it's fantastic.
Well, I think they probably recognize that the Destiny IP, like I said, when you take something that's been built by someone else, there's a lot less upfront work you have to do. So if they take the Destiny IP and then shove out a microtransaction riddled mobile game, they're probably seeing big possible returns there. Because go look at the difference between Call of Duty mobile and Call of Duty as we know it on console and PC. The microtransactions are worse on Call of Duty mobile. And it's because mobile gamers are more accustomed to that. I guess it's just I'll say cultural, but I mean cultural like as far as what you play on. Like that chicken dinner skin for the gun that would turn people into fried chicken. Haha, silly Willy. That was a gotcha. It was a gotcha that took several microtransactions to obtain. So it's like that kind of stuff doesn't normally fly on console, not usually.
Right.
So I think they probably see people's standards are much lower on micros on mobile, like that Harry Potter game where you put in money just to play, like to literally play.
You're getting choked out, and you're like, if you want to survive, put in
launch that game. Launch that game on console, it dies day one. But on mobile, well, shoot, we don't actually have to give the player anything. We can just have them.
I think it's funny because people want to play on mobile, but they don't want to play on mobile. That's why they're willing to pay so they don't have to stay on mobile as long. You know what I mean? They're playing on mobile. Yeah, they're playing on mobile, like you're playing a mobile game, but they want to pay to progress faster because they don't want to play on mobile as long. You know what I'm saying?
I guess that's
so. Like, it's going to take me 10 hours to play this on the phone, or I could pay $10. I'm just going to pay $10.
Sad life to live on the phone,
right?
But you're right though. Like Clash of Clans, I remember playing that. I'd be in class and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to do a raid real quick. Oh, let me upgrade my town center or whatever." oh, 2 days for this to upgrade.
Yeah.
Or I could
Or-
pay $4.99 and
Yeah,
get it to upgrade right now
we're gonna
between
do that
now
right
and
now.
my next class.
Exactly.
I never
Yep.
did that. Thank goodness. I was Mr. Krabs even as a kid, but yeah.
Krabsy
I get
says, when does Halo Mobile release, not including streaming, is actual mobile game? I don't know, man. I think because of cloud gaming, Krebsy, I don't think they go mobile.
Nah, I think they'd have to. They got to figure out their.
Who knows? Maybe it's one of the
foundation
5
first.
games they're making. Maybe it's one of the 5 games.
Maybe it is a Halo. They made a Halo cookbook, so I guess mobile's not out of the question.
Well, they also made a Halo TV show, if you can call it that. So
I don't call it that.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah. So let's go from the Destiny Rising to Ubisoft, right? Because it's since the last time you were on the show to now, Ubisoft is imploded. They're basically going to get bought out. They're going to get possibly bought out by Tencent. The games are struggling. Star Wars Outlaws. I don't know. Did you play Star Wars Outlaws?
No.
I played it. I enjoyed it, but I knew it was flawed.
I watched you briefly play it. I briefly watched you play it, and that was actually what made my decision, because I was considering it out of just the fact that it's an open world Star Wars game, something I've wanted for a long time.
Yep.
And I watched you play it, and I saw the gameplay loop, and I was like, nope, I'm good.
Yep.
I'll pass.
I was glad I paid $18 for the 1 month, and I won't pay another $18 until the game is complete 2 years from now. I said that it had massive issues with the stealth, with the shooting, with just some of the game core mechanics, and everyone's like, "No, it's perfect. I'm enjoying it." I'm like, you don't understand. It's broke. It's not working. And now they've gone and already had 3 major patches to fix a bunch of stuff. So much so that they, fundamentally changed the game mechanics and how she reacts to certain things. So between AC Shadows getting shit on left and right because of what's happening with the Japanese culture and whatnot, what is your thought process on all of this that's happening with Ubisoft in the last? God, it feels like 6 months, but really it was like 6 weeks, maybe, if that.
Yeah, it should be studied for generations.
Yeah, it's be a college course on it.
How not to run a gaming company. It's actually astounding, but it goes far beyond just the last few months. I think we all know this. It goes to the last few years. And if I could probably summarize it, I would say that Ubisoft got too complacent. They got too comfortable with their formula and overplayed their hand to their own investors on how much people would continue paying them for more of the same, no matter what IP they slapped on it. Because now they have several really good IPs.
Yeah.
But they don't, aside from, like, say, Siege, it's kind of an outlier. Whenever you think Ubisoft single player, or Ubisoft, something that's not PvP, it's not a Rainbow Six game, or it's not a Ghost Recon game anymore. It's not a Star Wars game anymore. It's not a Assassin's Creed game anymore. It's a Ubisoft game. And everyone knows what Ubisoft game means.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what we talked about earlier, when all these different shooters become a conglomerate of the same game. Ubisoft has done that with all their titles. And I think they got too complacent in spitting out the same thing. They actually expected Star Wars Outlaws. Did you see this? That they were internally calling it
the Red Dead Redemption.
Redemption.
Yeah.
Red Dead Outlaws or something like that. They actually thought it would do that well.
No, I think that's a misquote or misunderstood. I think when they said the Red Dead, and again, if someone can bring up the quote, I don't know exactly where it is, but I think it was misunderstood or taken out of context.
I only heard a rumor. I didn't see a direct quote.
Well, I think when they say it's supposed to be like Red Dead Redemption, I think they're just comparing it, because I actually said this last year when they first showed it, because people are like, "Oh, it's this type of game." I said it looks like a Star Wars, but in like a Red Dead type of format, an open world, like you're a cowboy, but in the Star Wars universe. And I would compare it to that. It's an open world Star Wars game like a Red Dead Redemption, but I wouldn't compare it to a Red Dead Redemption, right? Because one is a groundbreaking, like,
we wouldn't.
Game of the year type of contender to what that is. And I don't really think they can. Again, I don't like to defend corporations, but I think it was taken out of context. I just think they said that they're making a Star Wars game like a Red Dead Redemption. right? Like an
I mean,
open
they could
world.
have inspiration from Red Dead,
Yeah.
I think, and I think they obviously did. They blatantly ripped off the what's it called when you slow down time and you mark your targets and you
Oh yeah,
hit and then it shoots
yeah,
them all.
yeah.
Blatantly ripped that out of Red Dead, as an example.
Yep.
But my thing is, don't just take my word for it. Go so Ubisoft's investor calls are open because the company's public. So you can go listen to what CEO name I can't pronounce said about Outlaws on several occasions before the game came out. They were expecting strong returns and a strong opening
Yeah.
for the game.
They were
And
expecting 8 million units, and then it went down to 5, which is now down to like 3, which then only sold 1, and they think they're only going to sell 3 million by March of next year.
And then couple that with look back about 10 months. You've got Avatar Frontiers of Pandora that came out. Another like Star Wars Outlaws, they took a big IP and put the Ubisoft formula in it. Now it felt like Far Cry Primal to me. It didn't feel any different
with
than
the Avatar skin on it. Yeah.
With Avatar cosmetics. Yeah. So like let me mod a Far Cry game to look like Avatar, and that's what it is. And it went on discount, I believe, a month after launch.
I think it was like 3 weeks. Yeah, it was like 3 weeks to 4 weeks afterwards. Like it went on discount.
So that game I don't think it was a commercial failure, but it certainly didn't make a splash. Then you've got Prince of Persia, which got good reception. I don't know how it did on sales.
Didn't sell very well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's just not a super
no, I
broad
think
appeal.
It would be. Yeah. But it also didn't cost them $300 million to make.
That's true. Right? That's true. So then follow that up with X Defiant, their Call of Duty ripoff, which I happen to enjoy because I just like old COD without skill-based. If Call of Duty threw in game modes right now that didn't have skill-based and took out a bunch of the bullcrap, then I'd play COD. It's dying. They straight up
because they have netcode issues.
They have netcode issues. They
had netcode issues 11 months ago before it even came out. I have a video on it. I actually said, "Don't release your game. Keep it and work on it until it's fixed." And they never did that. They launched it in May to the exact same problems they had in beta, which they delayed because it didn't pass the testing of Microsoft or PlayStation at the time. And yet they still released it with the bad netcode, and here we are. And they're like, "Oh yeah." And there's talk that
the netcode leads to bad shot registration in a first-person shooter.
Yeah, in a competitive
where the primary thing you're doing is shooting. Yeah, and needing to hit your target.
It's idiotic.
So you've got that coupled with content that's just not. It doesn't really support the live service. Like there's just not enough to go around.
You forgot Skull and Bones, by the way.
I haven't forgotten it. We're still going. We're still going. We're still going down the list. Skull and Bones, which was what 8 years, 10 years, about $200 million,
like 10 years, 12 years, something like that. Yeah.
Massive financial failure.
First quadruple A game.
First quadruple A game, right. Again, CEO overplaying his hand. Couple all of that together, and then you've got, I think they're only releasing, well, they were, not anymore. I guess we'll get to that. 2 more games this year, which was going to be Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. 2 strong IPs. How
could you go wrong with Star Wars?
How could you go wrong? So I think what they really believed was that Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows combined would help make up for the losses, but Outlaws did not. Obviously, we've already mentioned that it did not. They were complacent in their game design. They just threw out a Star Wars game, a Star Wars Ubisoft game, and it flopped, unsurprisingly to everyone but Ubisoft. And now they go, "Oh crap! We actually can't just release Assassin's Creed Shadows the way we were planning to, because now we see that voting with wallets actually works, and people are voting that they don't like what we're making. So now we need to delay Assassin's Creed Shadows and get it launch ready." They were ready to release a game that wasn't launch ready, that you could pre-order for over $100.
Yeah, $120, but they really wanted you to pay $18, right?
Right.
And I've said this. I said that Assassin's Creed Shadows, and this was my speculation, where I said that I think it'll get delayed, and I said because the pre-orders are low. 2 hours later, it got delayed until February. And because the pre-orders are low. And why are the pre-orders low?
Good. It
people
should be
don't want to
0.
talk about this
It's not
stuff.
low enough.
Yeah, people don't want to talk about this stuff, but people are like, oh, SBI doesn't. DEI, SBI, it's all woke. It all combines into one thing, but there is that side of it, right?
Mhm.
But that wasn't the main issue. The main issue was
It's a slice of the pie. It's not a
right.
DEI.
It's not the
not
whole
a
pie.
DEI
Right.
flavored pie, but it
Yeah.
is a slice.
It's a slice of it in there. Okay. The price point, the business model. I said Outlaws is the same problem with that, right? Which was the same problem with Skull and Bones, which was the same problem with Pandora, right? Like all of these have the same business structure of where they want to charge you $80, $130, or $18. And I was like, that's where they want you to go. They know that that game is not a full price game. They know that game is not $130. They know that game is unfinished, broke, buggy, and it's worth $18. Yet it's actually worth $54 because that's what they think it's worth because they want you to stay in that program for at least 3 months, right? So that's what they think their version of that game is. This is why I stay away from Ubisoft games for the most part because I know when it comes out, it's not going to be finished. It's not going to be anywhere close to finished. You have to wait 18 months before it comes out. Now here we are. Shadows is delayed till February. Black History Month. Okay,
They refunded pre-orders. That's insane.
Yeah, they refunded people's money. Okay, I don't think it's coming out in February. I think it's going to get delayed further. Okay,
Yo, you do.
I think that there was rumors about Black Flag being released. Okay, it's was it Jeff Grubb or someone else said it's sooner rather than later. Now I don't know if it comes out in replace of where Assassin's Creed Shadows was, like it comes out during this holiday season, or if that gets pushed out into February and then Assassin's Creed Shadows gets pushed back to September of next year.
I think if Shadows gets delayed again, the CEO is gone. I think he's
gone
before the game even releases. If it gets delayed again, he's gone. The investors, again, public. Their phone calls are public. You can see transcripts of it all over the place on several different outlets reporting it. The investors are up in arms over the CEO and then also want the company to go back private again. So he's already he's on thin ice. And obviously it's not all him, but he should be the captain, right? He should be the one whipping everybody into shape. And dude, with Star Wars, we're already past that. With Shadows, I think I believe them when they say that they are going to work on like bug fixes and just general stuff. I believe them that they're going to do that. I don't believe that it'll even be ready in February.
Yeah,
I don't.
It won't be.
I don't believe that. In fact, there were rumors that Yasuke was being reduced. I guess you
reduced.
could say.
I heard reduced as well. They said at one point it was going to be maybe like taken out or put in a different manner. Or like
there's no way. That's
way too much work. Yeah.
That's way too much work.
Unless because the game was in production for so long, they had something else already, and they can just move it back over. You know what I mean? Like they had something first, and then this came in afterwards. But
they can't win with that now, though. If they include him front and center, they lose. If they remove him, they lose.
They lose even more.
I think they're gonna. I think they will keep it as it is, but they probably will. A lot of these corporations like to downplay the backlash people get from when things are needlessly politicized. They probably will go through the game and trim out a couple of things, maybe a line of dialogue here or a side mission here. They're not going to reduce his role as a primary protagonist. There's no shot. I think the hip hop track will be gone. I really think that's going to be gone. I think there's no way they release the game with that still in it. But I think the primary thing is just damage control. They want to run around like chickens with their heads cut off for 4 months instead of 1. I think is the main thing.
It's actually 3 months because they get a month vacation because of the holidays.
Oh, okay. Well, 3 months then. Yeah, 3 months.
Which I think that's what they're going to do. It's not going to be done. It's not going to be complete, and this is why I think it's pushed back even further.
He also said that they were going to add some more content to it, like side missions. I'm like, dude, you don't do bug fixes and new content at the same time. Adding new content can create new problems.
The regular game wasn't ready for launch. They delayed it, but now they're going to add more content on top of that to get it out in February. They're giving out, listen to this, they are giving out the DLCs for free now, right?
Please pre-order a game.
right. They gave back the money for the pre-orders, but now they're like, oh, they found out we got to put that content back in the game for free. Just it's like, bro, What are we doing? Look, these companies don't give two shits about us in any way, shape, or form. And you know what? At a point, they don't have to. Okay, they're a business. They're trying to make money. Great. Okay, but give us the product. Back in the day, if I made this mouse, you bought this mouse, you were happy with this mouse, you took it home, it worked as a product. You gave me money, I gave you the product. That's not what's happening anymore. They're giving you a half-ass product. Okay, that potentially only if we notice and if it sells enough copies, they'll support it to get it to the patch 1.0 or 2.0 or 5.0 to finally fix all the things that was wrong with the game, because they make the problem, sell the solution, and tell you they're listening, right? And everyone's like, oh, they're such good developers because they're actually listening to us, but they're not listening to us. This is planned what was it called? Planned obsolescence. That's not the right term, but this is planned from the beginning. The problems are planned from the start. They know what they're releasing. They know when they're going to fix it. They know when they're releasing these things. This is why they have live roadmaps and different things. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a form of game development funding is what it is.
Sure.
So they like, let's say we are making, I'll go back to the pie thing. Say we're making a pie and we put it in the oven. We can say this is a magical pie. This pie takes us 2 years to make.
Pies.
It takes us 2 years to make.
Yeah.
But what if I told you that we could pull it out of the oven early at a year and a half, give it to our customers, they'll pay full price for it.
Yep.
And then allow us to then put it in for the remaining 6 months. Of course they're going to do that.
Yep.
But it's like, well, what if it costs money to make this pie over 2 years, but we only have really enough money to comfortably do it for a year and a half. Release it at a year and a half. Let's make our money. Then we'll go ahead and finish it up and give it out to them. It's just a form of funding. I'm not doing it. I'm sure you're not either. Gamers are just funding the finishing line of development when they pre-order or buy a game day one, so that it's in the player's hands. It's out, but they're still developing it. They're still messing with it.
This is the same thing that's happening right now, and people are loving this game. It's getting good reviews. People love it. The fans love it. And Space Marines 2, not an Ubisoft game, okay, but it's an incomplete game. It's an incomplete game. They already have the roadmap.
Oh, I got a video coming up on Space Marine 2, and I can already see it. People are going to be so mad at me.
This is great, right? So I don't support games like this because the game, all the content's free, but you're paying full price now, and you have to wait 10 months, 11 months.
But this game saved gaming. What are you talking about?
It's saved gaming. It's beating it. People love it. They're having fun. But you're paying for a product. You just said an example, and you could take any game that, right? It doesn't matter if it was Star Wars. It doesn't matter if it's Shadows. It doesn't matter if it's Space Marines. It doesn't matter. These games are incomplete at launch, but yet they want your full price money. Now, obviously, I think Space Marines 2 was $60 instead of $70, but
it was 70.
Was it 70? I thought it was Deluxe or something was 70. But regardless, you're still waiting for new content. You're still waiting for new maps.
Deluxe was 100.
Oh, was it? Well, you're doing the video. So then also on top of that, the Horde mode's at the end. It's like, why are you waiting to put that content in the game now? Just put it in. Why do I have to wait 10 months? Why do I have to give you full price for a game?
Why are you upset? Why are you upset about extra free content, Dirty? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why you're getting free stuff over the next year? What are you mad about?
I'm telling you, man, I just don't like where the industry is going. Legendary Drops had a video today about Microsoft, about this huge, where they came from and where they are. And I was
wrong. Sorry. On Steam, the standard edition is $60.
Okay, so see,
I bought it.
I was right there.
You were right. On Xbox, I believe it was just straight up 70.
Yeah, it was 70 on the Xbox. It was 60 on the PC.
Yep. Okay.
So Reese says, I haven't followed Space Marines 2. What's lacking? It's lacking the rest of the game that they have in a roadmap, which you're not paying for, Reese. You're paying for it now at the $70 price point or $60 on your whatever system you're paying on. Okay. But you're waiting for new matches, new maps, new I forget what that
it's new
expeditions or something that you have to do or something like that.
It's new weapons, it's new PvE levels, it's new PvP maps, it's Horde mode.
It's a Horde mode.
Nothing that is huge.
No.
It's not any massive expansions, but where the line is that I was going to do line. Where the line is my back scratcher. The line is this: you've got one side of people that are saying, "But it's free content. What are you mad about?" They're giving us free stuff over time.
Sure.
The other side, it sounds like the two of us are on, is that great. It should be free because it should be there already.
Exactly.
Why are we holding off on giving us this? This seems deliberate because they touted this roadmap. They advertised this roadmap before launch.
Yep.
Look at what we're going to add over time. I was looking at that roadmap and I was like,
yeah, right.
That's
the rest of the game. That's the rest of the game you're paying for today.
I was like, why is this a live service game? They're bragging about it being a simple, compact, classic experience.
Yeah, it's a complete game. They said it's a complete game.
360 and PS3 era. We didn't have that back then. There were DLCs, sure, but like live service roadmaps, that wasn't really a thing. Not really. So I'm just like, yeah, the game's fun. I like it as it is, but I know that I'm not getting a full product.
They kind of made a complete game and sold a game, right? They didn't make the entire thing.
My thing, I think my video, which I haven't even filmed yet, but I have finished scripting. I'll spoil the intro line. I would say this: if I get 90%, I guess I say pie again. What is it with me with pie? I don't even like pie that much.
Are you hungry?
I'm really not. Just the best analogies for incomplete games seem to go to the restaurant industry. It's like, you wouldn't accept this there. Why do we accept it here? If you have 90% of a pie, you wouldn't say you got a complete pie. You'd say you almost got a complete pie.
Well, no, you come back 10 months later, I'll give you the last piece of the pie.
Space Marine 2 gave us an almost complete game. It is not a complete game.
Correct. It's so close. And the game that they released is in good shape, but it's not a complete game.
Correct.
Right? If you told me that all this content afterwards was DLC and you paid for it, cool. But that's not what you said. You told me all this content is free and you have to wait 10 months for it, but you're going to pay for it today.
So I see Space Marine 2 as the lesser of two evils. As in
it's a better version of what's happening in the industry.
The content is still drip fed, but it's free. However, just because it's the lesser of two evils doesn't mean I have to pretend it's not still an evil.
Well, here's the perfect example, right? People love Space Marines 2, so they talk good about it. They hated Marvel's Avengers, and it did the exact same thing, right? It was free content that they didn't charge you for, but you paid up front for it, and you had to wait 2 years to get it completed, right? Everyone hated that. Everyone hated that game. It's not a complete game. It's a broken game. It's a shitty game because they didn't like Marvel's Avengers, but they like Space Marines 2, so they defend it. Right? They get the trash knights and they come in and they defend the game because they love that IP, and it's the exact same format as Anthem, is the exact same format as of Marvel's Avengers. It's the exact same format, but they like that one, but they don't like the others.
Well, I think there's two key differences in why people are more willing to turn their heads on Space Marines 2. One is that I believe there's only one microtransaction right now. It's a cosmetic
skins,
pack.
Yeah.
It's a cosmetic pack that gives you a bunch of colors and some skins, but they're not charging $14 a skin every week. So that's number one.
And you can earn stuff in the game as well, like
yes. Customization is completely earnable except for that microtransactions. That's difference number one. And then difference number two, this might I don't mean to insult you, but Space Marines 2 is actually fun long term.
Sure. No, but that's what I'm saying, though. But one is because people like the IP, and it's a complete game. Like, it is a complete game as far as the base of the game, the structure of the game. The game is good. It feels good to play the game, right? But you could say the same thing for Marvel's Avengers as far as the base game, the single-player aspect of the game. The story missions are 15 to 20 hours, right? It was the no end game in the looter shooter that they created. Now, this is not a looter shooter.
And there's a PvP element here in Space Marines 2, so some additional replayability there that would make people not notice.
But there's only 6 missions that you have to keep playing
I know.
and over
PvE was I was most excited for that mode out of anything. After like 3 to 4 hours of bouncing between PvE and PvP, I'm like, I've done everything.
Right.
Like, there's different classes, I know, but like I feel like I've gotten the whole experience.
Salty says, N3 is not a looter like Avengers. Sure, but I'm just talking about the base game. If you bought Space Marines just to play the campaign, you bought the game for the campaign, you played the campaign, you move on with yourself, right? You played Marvel's Avengers for the campaign, and you moved on, right? Obviously, there's the end game loot system over here. There's the PvP aspect, and also leveling your character up here for end game content and stuff like that. It's the same, but they're both incomplete games. They're both
Mhm.
games that came out incomplete, and you have to wait a year, 2 years for the complete game, and you're paying upfront for that.
Well, Marvel's Avengers also marketed itself and firmly planted itself in the live service space. It wanted to be a
Sure.
game that people played repeatedly for a long time, and they kept saying we're going to add, heroes for years to come, and we're
That
going to
was a
add
death warrant as soon
content
as
for.
they said that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were done for. They went exactly 2 years so that they weren't false advertising.
Yep.
Good job. Years plural. And Space Marines 2
Yeah.
hasn't really done that. It has had live service as like a sidecar, but I don't think it ever advertised itself as this game's
Sure.
gonna be alive and kicking for a long, long, long time.
Both games
So
incomplete though.
right, yeah, and that's me explaining, not trying to justify, because I think the only reason I haven't released that video yet is because I actually kind of got burnt by another editor. So I'm actually 2 videos behind where I want to be right now. So like I've got that video and then a different one that should have been out weeks ago. But I think when I drop it, and I'm echoing a lot of the same points you're making right now, people aren't going to like that. People were not happy with my Helldivers 2 video either. When I said I don't like, which I think you and I had a disagreement about it last time I was on stream, or maybe some other time.
Is it pay to win, or
it was about the concept of pay to win, and if I purchase an item that changes my gameplay in any capacity, I think that's bad. People didn't like that I said that in that video. It's actually one of my highest ratios of dislikes to likes on my channel. My second only to probably my Alan Wake 2 video. Haha. But I think I'm going to see something similar with Space Marine 2, because people have been, bowing before this game. This saved gaming. This is what we've all wanted. This is what we all needed. This is how gaming needs to be.
Yeah, this is the standard of gaming. And it's like, no, Black Myth Wukong is the standard of gaming, right? Complete game. Stellar Blade, complete game, right? Like games that you pay for and get the entire thing on the same day you pay for it. Yeah. Speaking of, your last video was you made a video of the the last video I watched, I think, was the community manager of Remnant Studios, right? What has happened since then, since you made that video? Anything? Has anything happened with
Remedy?
Remedy.
With Remedy and what they've said, no, not really. But I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. Gave some kind of talk. It seemed like a TED Talk. Maybe it was legitimately a TED Talk. I'm not sure. But it formatted, it looked like a TED Talk, where she was speaking on, if I could summarize her speech, it was that she believed Sweet Baby Inc. was a net good for all of gaming and humanity, I guess. And she was genuinely surprised at the people who opposed Sweet Baby's messaging and what would you call it? Goals? Directives? What they did. And usually she conflated criticism with I don't know if she ever said far-right extremists.
I think she actually said with the no, she didn't say racism. She used another, I forget what the word she used. Extremists, I think she used.
It was very much the reductive argument of someone who disagrees with me. It's probably because they're as polar opposite from my side as possible. They've gone too far in their lane. It was one of those things. And in that talk, she specifically referenced Alan Wake 2, where the main thing people noticed at the first trailer for Alan Wake 2, she did say far right. All right, well, there you go. Thanks for putting that up on screen too.
Yep.
She said that Saga Anderson, who is the one of the 2 primary protagonists in the game, that character is black in Alan Wake 2. And in the appearance that she'd been in prior to Alan Wake 2 was in an Easter egg in Quantum Break, and she was very clearly a white person.
Yeah.
So the character was race swapped for Alan Wake 2. Well, if
Which
you
they said
go,
they didn't do. Which they said
which
they didn't do.
yes, which she said they didn't do that. She thought it was cool they did that, but they didn't do that. And then I think his name is Kyle Rowley. His
Yeah.
tweets pop up when I was on Twitter. I'm not anymore, but when he was some director for Remedy on the game, and he adamantly said they did not race swap Saga because of Sweet Baby or whatever. But if you go on Sweet Baby's website, they straight up say on the website, well, they might have changed that now.
They did change it now.
Yeah, they removed a lot of stuff now. But a couple weeks ago, if you had looked, you would see that they did character. I had a screenshot of it in my video. I can't remember. It was story and character, basically consultation. And it's like, well, if you play the game, which character is it that references race, like verbally mentions race? Well, technically there's two characters that do it. There's a comment against white people and a comment against black people too in the game, which is strange because that was never really a thing before. But anyway, all that to say, Remedy has not said anything different since my video. For context, that video was I finally saw how some of the people behind the scenes at Remedy feel about people that look like me. Right. Specifically, she said that there's too many white influencers promoting their stuff. So I've obliged. I don't promote their stuff anymore. They've never paid me to promote their stuff.
Right.
I do it because I've been a fan. Because I've been a fan. And you know what? Nothing will ever take away from me the fact that I still enjoy their games, and I probably will still enjoy their games privately on my own time. But their games I've already paid for. I'm not giving them any more of my money. I'm not going to support that, and I'm certainly not going to publicly support. Like I changed the banner on my YouTube page. I had a Alan Wake thermos right here over my left shoulder. That's gone now. I'm not going to do something dramatic and go burn it in my backyard. You know, like a football jersey.
Well,
or something.
You got to do that, and make sure you film it so you get monetization for it when you do it.
Right. But like, I'm not going to passively promote their stuff anymore. I'm just doing what they asked to be done. You don't want as many white people talking about your game. You want to be picky about who plays your stuff and enjoys it. Fine.
Right. Have they made their money back?
I'll see myself out.
Have they made their money back yet for that?
If they have, they have an announcement. The last time they did an investor and earnings thing, they said they still have not made their money back on Alan Wake 2. And that released last October.
I think this is it's mind-boggling to me, right? Because I'm a person that doesn't really talk. Like, I'll talk about SBI, I'll talk about DEI, I'll talk about stuff, but it's just stupid to me that people believe that it's not happening. It is happening, right? Now, I've never been one to say that this is the main reason that this is failing. It is, like we said earlier, a piece of the pie of why these games are not making it or failing, or why these companies or movies or TV shows are doing this in that way. But it boggles my mind that they take the group of people that have loved whatever franchise it is, right? I'm a huge Star Wars guy, right? Like Star Wars was my life, right? Loved it. Okay, I mean, you could say I have lightsabers and X-wings and different, right? Like, I love it. Okay, yet they hate me, and I personally haven't done anything to them, right? I've did nothing but support them over all these years, but they automatically just hate me because I've been now thrown into the group of people that are racist, sexist, misogynistic against certain actors, which is just stupid in my opinion, because I don't hate the actors. I hate the writing that they've done for these shows or for these games or for these things, because they're pushing things. It doesn't make sense. Like, there would be no reason for someone in a galaxy far, far away to believe what I believe on Earth in our universe. You know what I mean? Like, they want to push it in, and they push it into video games. They push it into other stuff. And people are like, no, they're not doing that. You're blowing it out of proportion. I'm like, no, it wouldn't make sense for a stormtrooper to say these things, or to wear the colors of the gay pride flag or something. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense because they don't live in our universe. They don't live in that lore that we live in, and we try to separate. So when the community manager comes out and says to you as a fan of Remedy Studios that we don't want your business, right? That hurts, right? That you're like, why? What did
Of
I
course
do?
it does, because I guarantee you I've been playing more of their games and giving them money for longer than she's worked there.
Exactly. And it just
Max
boggles.
Payne, anybody? Like, hello? Like, I've been a fan for 20 plus years. And Travis said something in the chat I'd like to respond to about separating the art from the artist. And I agree with that. I agree with the idea of separating art from the artist. And I tend to do that on a lot of things. But when people behind a game are publicly stating that they don't want people that look like me to promote their games, and they're publicly stating their disdain towards white males, and also publicly stating their desire to keep putting agenda into games. Go look at her tweets if you don't believe me. I'm not exaggerating. I'm dead serious. I can't unsee it when I play the game now.
Right.
It's impossible, because when I play the game, specifically Alan Wake 2, I don't have this problem with any game prior to Alan Wake 2 because I don't see it anywhere throughout all of Remedy's games. Alan Wake 2 specifically, I can't unsee it now.
So it's tainted it for you. It's
Absolutely.
over.
Absolutely.
So no matter if she leaves the company, if Remedy comes out and says we don't agree, they've never even come out to say we.
Nah, they haven't, and they probably never will.
Right. They're just so. What she says is what they believe. It's basically the way you're looking at it, right? Because she's a community manager.
Because these tweets are not new. These are old tweets that I just happened to see recently. Now the new ones, the ones that spurred me seeing it, was because she was talking about, it was about Concord actually, saying that we need to weed the bigots out of our communities, that kind of thing. Again, over conflating people that disagree with you to far right extremists, whatever.
Right.
And that's what led me to see the other tweets. Now, if tomorrow Sam Lake came from Remedy and said she's been fired, we don't condone that kind of discrimination and racism, and we welcome all gamers, blah 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 blah, they'd have my interest, but I would want to see what they do.
Right.
With that, like that statement would only mean something to me, because right now it's the actions that speak louder than the words. The fact that she's still at the company, hasn't been fired, and is still allowed to continue spouting these things off as she has done for the last couple of years, plural, tells me that that's their stance too, or at the very least they condone it. So yeah, that's.
Do you think with this with the SBI type stuff. Now, obviously, the company is consultants, and they've changed their website recently. Like, they've taken everything off of their website of who they're working with. There's been documented proof from her mouth herself, Kim Belair, at this XOXO festive event that was just happening. Like, it's like a TED Talk type of thing, where she talks about that they're working with 80 games. 80 games. Okay.
Saw that too.
Now,
there weren't 80 games on their website, though.
That's correct, right? So now they're working with other companies, and now there's talks, rumored, speculation, that they're not going to tell you who they're working with, right? There's been even speculation of that they might not even put their name, so you know that Sweet Baby Inc. worked on a game at all. Now they're just hiding it in plain sight, right? Because they're obviously, and I get it what they're doing, because
they know,
right? And they know if they say something, then people won't buy that game. But here's the thing: if they're found out, because it just takes one person. It takes one person that's disgruntled or whatever, okay, that says who's on and what games they're working on. And if a company doesn't come out and outright say, like, yeah, we worked with this company, and it's found out, that's going to be 10 times worse for that company. Any studio. I don't care if it's an independent studio or AAA studio. It'll be 10 times worse. Their entire
business model relies on companies believing they will bring them a bigger return on investment. That's their entire business model. And the moment that veil is torn and people don't believe that anymore, in fact, they believe it's not even a neutral return. It'll be a negative return.
Right.
They won't touch companies like that.
Right. So not for just that game, forever. They'll be done.
Yeah. So now what they're going to try to do is go, okay, we won't it's the name. So we won't disclose that we're attached to it, but you'll see our work will speak for itself. Our work will bring you a higher return on investment, and we'll prove that by not sharing with the public that we were involved. We won't take any credit, but watch us make you money.
Right.
By making the game more inclusive. Watch us do that. Yeah.
Sorry. Prasi earlier said it's a small piece, but some of the games just were not good. Most of everything, right? Now, if you want to correlate it to DEI, SBI, woke stuff makes bad games, I personally don't believe that, but I do believe that the people that are working on the games are not qualified enough to work as a writing staff on a movie, on a TV show, on the stuff, right? And this is easy to look up. All the Marvel shows, all the Star Wars shows, if you look at the writing staff, majority of the writing staff is brand new. They haven't worked on anything. They play ball, right? And I worked in that industry for 20 years, and I know how it works, okay? You could be brand new, and they'll give you an opportunity as long as you play ball. If you play ball, they'll play ball, okay? If you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, okay? And if you don't scratch, they'll blacklist you. They'll blackball you. They'll move you away. So you look at the projects that were bad writing, and the bad writing makes a bad project, because if the writing's bad in a movie, the show or the movie is going to be bad. If the writing's bad in a video game, it doesn't mean it's a bad game, because the gameplay could save that game, right? The graphics, the sound design, all this other stuff could save that game.
Mass Effect 3, or Mass Effect, not 3. Whew, Mass Effect 1 and 2, Baldur's Gate 3, even Battlefield and Call of Duty for a little while there.
Right. So when you look up at these, businesses, and all of a sudden you're like, why is this writing so bad? You can look up that the history of these people that have credits. You go, oh, they're new, and then you start looking down the rabbit hole of these writers or these developers or directors, and you're like, oh, well, that connects to this, and this connects to that, and that is with this, and this was working with that, and you're like, oh, right. So I don't believe myself, I don't believe that the DEI, SBI, woke stuff automatically makes something bad. But more times than not, it is a bad product because of what they're trying to push, instead of just making a game, a movie, a show.
And that's not just you speculating either. She flat out said that in her talk, that they hired people who, what did she say? They may not have had opportunities in other places because they weren't as qualified.
Yeah,
qualified to write stories,
right?
In a narrative consultant company.
I wasn't qualified. You're laying on the table as a doctor, right? You're about to die. Doctor's sick. I come in and be like, well, I'm not qualified, but I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot about trying to do the surgery, open heart surgery. That doesn't work that way. You have to be qualified for the thing that you're working on. People want to leap and jump ahead of positions because they feel like they've earned it in any way, shape, or form. And what makes a good writer is someone with experience. And if that's someone that, if you lived a coddled life your entire life and you become a writer, you're probably not going to write about a lot of good stuff because you didn't live, right? And this is why most writers are older than the younger type. Not to say there's not good young writers, okay? It all depends on what they did. Like, you write what you know. You write what you understand. And a lot of these people that are writing for video games, writing for shows, writing for movies don't like that stuff. They don't like Star Trek. They don't like Star Wars. They don't like, Remedy Studios. They don't like the Alan Wake series or whatever. They're not fans of this stuff. They're just paying for the job and then inserting themselves. And they're like, oh, well, you don't like this and you're making fun of me. And that's why. So you're racist, you're sexist, you're misogynistic because I'm putting myself in this character and you don't like it. So that's the reason you don't like it. And it's like, well, no, I don't like it because it's not good. It's not good writing. It's not good storytelling.
Well, you gotta hold on to that mentality as an anchor, truly, because the conversation around everything DEI, SBI, whatever, has taken such a turn. It's like whenever you're hydroplaning and you try to course correct and you overcorrect yourself. I feel like the conversation has done that recently. Like, now people are just outwardly being like, oh, black person in game, bad game. Like that, it's gone too far.
Right.
And
that's the internet, right? That's the internet.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I'll even say, I don't know if y'all are familiar. I don't mind calling people out. I do it on my channel all the time. Andy Pants Gaming, an absolute buffoon with anti-woke stuff, where take someone like Endymion, okay? I think everyone here is probably familiar with Endymion, at least somewhat. Endymion, like him or not, he at least tries to make arguments in his videos. He tries to present what he considers to be evidence and make what he considers to be arguments. Andy Pants Gaming just vomits out buzzwords and
I don't think
insults.
I've ever watched him. I don't think I've ever.
You're not missing out. You're not missing out. he made a video calling out some content creators as being too woke, and his main point was they're all woke because they're probably gay. Like, in what? How is that an argument that's
What steps
progressing
did
the
you take to get
conversation?
there? Right.
Yeah, that's not progressing the conversation at all. In fact, he had an opportunity to debate the Act Man on stream, and it could have been a really good conversation discussion of over two opposing viewpoints. And all he did was make jokes and insult Act Man the whole time. So now, even if you agree with
that's
Andy,
that guy that did the interview with Ackman.
Yes. So if even if you agree that even if you're on the side that says woke stuff is overtaking gaming, that's not a mascot for you. That he doesn't need to be a pundit. Like, he just spouts nonsense. And that's an example of what I mean when I say that people have taken it too far, in the sense that they're not making nuanced arguments anymore. They're just saying,
they just wrap it up all into that one
right,
little,
right. So, like, for example, when Travis earlier said about separating art from the artist, Alan Wake 2 is a woke game. I now know that because I've seen what the people who made it have to say about society and races and genders. But the evidence is more so in the game itself, and I just didn't come to the conclusion until I saw the real world takes. So, for example, it's not just because there's a black person in the game. I actually defended that in my video for Alan Wake 2. That. I defended that. I said, I don't really care that she got race swapped, to be honest with you, because the original white girl was in an Easter egg in a game in a franchise that Remedy doesn't even own anymore. I truly don't care. That's not even canon. Doesn't matter to me. But, and I'm going to spoil it for all of you, not in detail, but I'm going to spoil it for all of you. Near the end of Alan Wake 2, our protagonist, whose name is Alan Wake, gets completely pacified.
Dun, dun, dun.
He gets completely pacified and has to rely on this new Saga Anderson character, because our writer, our guy who is the whole crux of his character, is that he's a writer. He writes fiction. Now he just can't figure it out. I just can't write this story. I don't know how to make a good ending. Saga, can you help me? Please help me.
See, I've never played any of those games.
That's how the game ends. And now granted, you could get really deep into the rabbit hole and say that Alan planned that the whole time. Kind of cope, but whatever. And one of the defining characteristics of Alan was completely neutered, so that they could justify Saga's inclusion into the game. And now
you have to shit on the main protagonist and to uplift the other one.
Do you remember the animated He-Man show on Netflix?
I do.
Was her name Teela?
Yep, Teela. Yep.
It's like that, but imagine you get all the way to the end, and then He-Man he can't remember the line, I have the power. What's the last word? Teela, help me. Yep. And then Teela grabs his sword and says, I have the power. And then that's I just came up with that just now. That's perfect. That's exactly what the ending of Alan Wake 2 is like. And now that I've seen their real world politics, I can't unsee that infecting the story of the game.
Yeah. I don't think there's a problem having real world politics in certain genres of entertainment.
Of course not.
Right. Like if it's, obviously Star Wars, Star Trek, there's a lot of political stuff in these types of shows, but there's a difference between taking something that's so baked in reality and plant it in there to make it that. You know what I mean? Like, there's obviously, if you look at Star Wars and whatnot, the Empire is the Nazis. I mean, that's what they are, right? I mean, that's his helmet is literally Darth Vader's helmet is literally right. So
and the name Stormtroopers.
Yeah, you could take stuff from reality and blend it into the actual thing, but it's not baked into our reality. You see what I'm saying? It's just taking stuff from here and putting it in there, but it's not taking what we do here and putting it over there.
And Harry Potter did it too.
Yeah,
it's got very strong Nazi, Jewish,
of course,
undertones, like
right
throughout the whole series.
And I just want people to understand that when it's the internet, so you're always going to have the far left and the far right saying that this is woke garbage and stuff like that, and they could be right. And then the people are saying, well, these are grifters and these people are, and they're also correct, right? At the end of the day, they're all trying to make money. Right, they're all trying to make money. The grifters are making money off the people that are right. They're like, well, they're not going to make money. I'll make the money off.
They over exaggerate arguments because it makes them stand out and they get more views.
Of course, it's YouTube. It's entertainment. Like this is a box of entertainment here, right? Like this is television that was in the past. Now each individual has their own channel to get reactions out of people, to get emotions out of people, to buy in on what they're selling. You know what I mean? And that's just it. It's just entertainment, and people don't know how to separate reality from entertainment.
They don't know how to realize that what they're watching is a caricature meant to draw in views and not how you should actually see the world.
Right.
Tribalism is the death of rational thought. Whenever you pick a side and you say, I'm going to agree with everything this tribe says, no matter what, then you've lost all capacity to make up your own mind. Like, I'll go back to the Alan Wake 2 example. People who are anti-woke will often scream, this game is terrible, it's so bad, there's nothing good about it.
They overcompensate.
And that's not true. And that's not true at all. There's a lot of things to like about Alan Wake 2. If you like survival horror games, it's a great game. I still like the game for what it is, without that really nasty bad icing on the top that they put. But like I
flavored frosting,
yeah, like the narrative choices that were made because there was political ideology behind it does not take away from my enjoyment of the rest of the game. But then you've got people that are super pro that kind of inclusion going, oh, you just don't like the game because you don't like inclusion. Well, it's like, well, what if someone just doesn't like that type of game? It's a very slow-paced game with a very narrow appeal. There's going to be a lot of people that don't like that type of game. I acknowledge that. There's a lot of walking in that game. Like, so tribalism is just the death of rational thought.
You're a walkist. You don't like walking. That's it.
Right. And I'd like to add on to a point you made earlier where you said you don't believe that DEI type stuff can be the sole death of a game. I have yet to see a game where that's the only reason it died.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing: if you go back, I give this analogy a lot, right? My grass outside is pristine, right? If you look at the grass from afar, it looks like a perfect grass, right? But if I look and get down on my hands and knees and look in that grass, I see problems. I see bugs. I see insects. I see things. I see divots. I see things. And it's not perfect anymore because I'm looking to have problems, right? So when you look at a project, if you go back and look at old content, and I'm talking about old TV shows and old stuff, right? That was there the whole time. It was just never pointed out to you that that's there, right? And because now it's pointed out to you, everyone's like, with the magnifying glass going, I see Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Rick Moranis looking for his kids in the grass. He's got his magnifying glass, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I picture. Like, you see the problems, you see what's going on because it's pointed out to you, and now you're looking for them. Where before, if it's just good writing, and you want to put a character in there that happens to be gay or happens to be, whatever, black, Japanese, Chinese, whatever nationality, if it's pointed out to you, that's when you start to notice. But if it's just good writing, if it's just a good show, no one cares because why? They're being entertained. It's a good show.
If Halo 1 came out today for the first time ever, it would be called a woke game.
Of course.
Sergeant Johnson is black. Cortana is a female.
Tells Master Chief what to do.
And she tells Master Chief what mission, how to approach the next area, where to go. Female empowerment. It would be considered woke. Halo 2, Miranda Keyes, she's in a position of authority. She's a female. The Arbiter, voiced by a black man. He takes up a lot of the playtime in Halo 2. So I do not believe that inclusion on its face is enough to warrant the vitriol that a game can get. I do believe that corporatized, planned inclusion and someone commented earlier in the chat. It was actually a really good quote. I don't know where it came from. It said, "I have no critics, only harassers," and then says like, "Oh, everyone who disagrees, it's because you're a bigot." That is where I say, you know what? You deserve what's coming to you. Whenever people don't want to buy your game because they don't want to be preached to you that way, you deserve it. You deserve to be a year in and still not have made your money back. You deserve it. That's what you get.
Yeah, and obviously there are people that are pushing agendas and pushing propaganda and pushing this stuff, and there are other people that are also pushing against that because they just don't like it. And look, it's always going to be that, but you're absolutely correct. There's not just that reason why this failed. There's multiple reasons why a game fails or a show fails or a movie fails. It's not just because it's woke or whatever. You know what I mean? It comes down to it. It's a bad project. It's a bad, right? Did Redfall fail because it was woke? No, it failed because it was broke. It was right? It was just a bad game, right? So it's crazy. It's always touchy when we talk about this. I don't care about talking about this stuff, right? And I'm glad that you kind of bounce back and forth with me a bit on this topic, because everyone's they're like, tippy toe around.
Too many people have bought into a tribe, and if you say something that oversteps that, if people see you as a fence sitter, you get attacked from both sides.
Of course.
So the problem with being anti fence sitter is it's implying that no one's allowed to share thoughts from either side.
Right.
Like I will
way or no way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I live in America, and we have a 2-party system, and then we have independents who will run from, every year, vote for Kanye. And if I have never once in my life voted purely on the party, and I won't do it. I will review. I keep in tune with political stuff. I pay attention. I want to be an informed voter. There's things that I agree with, mostly from one of the parties, but then on the other one, every once in a while, there's something I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think this other party that I mostly agree with is wrong on that, and I think they need to look into that. And I think when you stop doing that and you only pay attention to what one says, no matter what they say, that's what I'm going to agree with. Right. You've lost the capacity to think for yourself, and I think that's a shame.
Yep. Don't be in a bubble. Always adjust and adapt and listen. And because if you listen on both sides, you make yourself much smarter, because you see what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Switching subjects. Right. Have you watching any? Have you been watching any television lately? Have you been watching anything new or something that you like watching, exciting, or you haven't been watching much of television?
I started watching TV again this month, and it's spooky season. So I've been watching more horror stuff while I edit.
I've been watching. We're 3 episodes into The Gentleman on. I believe it's on Netflix. Have you heard of this?
The Gentleman. Who's in that?
I don't know the actors' names. It's directed by Guy Ritchie. I love Guy Ritchie stuff.
Sounds really familiar.
You ever watch Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels or Snatch or anything like that?
Snatch, yes. The first thing I've never heard of in my life.
Okay, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels is a great movie as well.
Is it the comedy series you're talking about? With
no, it's not a comedy. It's like a. There's funny moments, but it's definitely it's about a family who inherited his father's land of he's a duke, okay, and the younger brother becomes the duke, and he overpasses the older brother. The older brother is completely a fuckwad. He's just an absolute asshole. He always gets in trouble and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So this younger brother, who was in the military in the UK, now takes over the land, and on the property there's a drug business going on. So I'll leave it at that, and just. All this drama ensues. It's such a good show. Such a good show.
I was thinking of the movie, the one with Charlie Hunnam and Colin Farrell.
Okay.
It's called The Gentleman. That's what I thought you were talking about.
I don't know if it's based on that. But this is a series. I'm 3 episodes in, and I'm locked. I want to watch. I want to binge watch it. But we're pacing ourselves. We're watching that, and what's another thing I'm watching? Murders in the Building. We haven't started the new season yet, but that's another great show if you haven't seen that. That's with Martin Short, Steve Martin. Yeah, Martin Short and Selena Gomez. And it's really good.
Yeah. I've seen
good
clips
writing
of that. I know what you're talking about.
Very good.
I haven't heard whether it was good or bad, but I've seen some clips from it.
Yeah, it's a good show.
I also like Steve Martin and Martin Short, so.
Oh, I love it. Taken back to like the three amigos. Yeah, the Three Amigos back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Is there any YouTubers that you are watching that you would recommend? I know I'm just throwing
you 30.
Yeah, no, yeah. No. I've been watching. I've been going down the rabbit hole of non-gaming YouTube channels. Like
it's good to branch out.
Yeah, I've been watching lots of like home improvement, like guys building shit like underneath their stairs or like different things, and I'm like, I don't know how I even showed up in my algorithm. Like
I've got several YouTube channels. I know you do too, and one of them I keep specifically for non-gaming stuff, and I make a point not to watch anything gaming related on it. Yeah. So that it won't just put me in the same content treadmill that I'm in already. And I've ended up in watching a lot of YouTube for that's directly related to the industry I work in. And I'm like, oh, this is good stuff. Like, I was like, I should start another YouTube channel that has nothing to do with gaming and just speak on what I do for a living. Be a lot easier.
I have my gaming. I have my 30 and still gaming, which I watch is my main YouTube stuff. So like all the gaming stuff comes in there. Then I have the 30 NSG one, which is like how to improve YouTube channel, right? Like how to get that stuff. And then I have my Nerding with 30 that I watch.
Yes.
That has all this random
all
stuff.
Your YouTube coach stuff.
Yep.
I got stuck in a rabbit hole of drama channels, commentary channels, and I finally got out of it. Because whenever I edit, I have two monitors. I'll edit on this monitor and have videos playing on this one. I just recently stopped playing YouTube and started playing like movies and stuff, which I need to do that more often. But there was one point when it was all just drama, like, this influencer did this.
Oh, I don't watch that stuff.
Oh my God. It's such a, I get it. It's super profitable. And I've been accused of being a drama channel because I have two videos that are about somebody else. But like, I get it. I get why people do it. It's easy content. All you gotta do is watch what everybody else does and then give your opinions on it.
Here's a channel. I don't know if you've ever watched him. I knew about him for years, but he does a news show on Sundays. Okay, you know Ricky Berwick? He's handicapped, right? He is hilarious. You have to watch his stuff. He does a show. You'll know who I'm talking about because he has a lot of viral videos. He's got 6 million YouTube subscribers and whatnot. He is hilarious. Chad, have you ever watched Ricky Berwick? He does a news show, Crippled News. It's called Crippled News. Okay, on Sundays he does it. It is so good. It is so good. The production value that he has going around just the news segments that he does. Check him out. It's Ricky Berwick. Obviously, he doesn't need my advertisement. He's got 6 million subscribers. Right. But he is hilarious. He's taken his life and made it into he's turned it into good stuff, right? He's a good comedian. He's really, really fun.
So I have a question. Have you noticed over the last month, have you noticed that we just got like at least 3, if not more, high profile remakes or remasters, and they have had wildly different receptions to them?
You're talking about the like Resident Evil, Silent Hill stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
We had Silent Hill 2, Until Dawn, and Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster.
Now, I haven't followed it, so which one's doing really well, which one's doing mediocre, and which one's not doing good at all?
That's actually a good way to put it. There are 3 classes there. So I'll say the good one first. Silent Hill 2 has surprised pretty much everybody and actually is proving to be it's a love letter to the original game. Okay. Despite the modernization, like the over-the-shoulder camera and the upgraded graphics and stuff, and some of the concerns people had about character models weren't really what people thought they were, or maybe they got changed between the reveal and now. I don't know. But overall, it's been a shockingly it doesn't feel like an improvement on the original, or really even an evolution. It's more of a separate experience that follows the same story to a T, and reminds people what made the original so great. And there's a ton of Easter eggs too. So like if you are a fan of the originals, there's incentive to come play this game because it shares in delight with you over what made the original so good. Like it literally will stop the game and point to something and basically be like, hey, remember that from the original? Yeah. That was really great, wasn't it? So that's been
jangling the keys in front of you.
Yeah. So that's been good. I was extremely skeptical about it because Silent Hill holds a special place in my heart.
I'm not a big fan of these types of games. The last Resident Evil game I played was literally off the GameCube.
Resident Evil and Silent Hill are what introduced me to the horror gaming genre, and that is a genre that is very easy to get wrong and very hard to get right. So whenever someone gets it right, I like to give them special props. And Silent Hill 2 has gotten very good, very high praise. I was even more skeptical when I saw all the reviews coming out, and I saw 8s out of 10s, 9s out of 10s, and 10s out of 10s. Like, I don't think I saw one less than 8 from a large publisher. I was like, oh, great. Because they had a consulting group too. And I was like, oh, great. What did they do? And then the players got their hands on it. And even people were like, this game's pretty good. This is actually not bad. So if I'm going to be wrong about a game, I'd like it to be when I'm skeptical. That's only a win for everybody.
Right.
So Silent Hill 2 is a remake, right?
Krebsy says it might be up for Game of the Year. Do you think it should be nominated for Game of the Year as a remake?
You've asked me this question on stream before, and I think the answer I gave was a remaster should never be even in the cards, but a remake could, should the differences be substantial enough for it to be a different game. Like Resident Evil 2 original and Resident Evil 2 remake, two completely different games. They follow the same story and have the same setting, but they are two completely different games.
Why not name it something else?
Well, it's the same. It's the same story. It's the same character.
They've already had their chance at it, right? That's the way I look at it.
The narrative is the same and the characters are the same. But when you have that many generational leaps in technology, for starters, that make it not to where not just the graphics that are different. It's also the way the game plays from beginning to end. Every aspect of it is improved. That is when I'm like, yeah, that's good stuff. And Silent Hill 2 is very similar in that regard. I've only played about an hour in, but I was pleasantly surprised. The middling reception would be Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster.
Okay.
It is advertising itself as a mix between a remake and a remaster, meaning ground up new engine has been used for the graphics.
It's a re.
Yeah, but the game
x2.
But the game plays exactly the same except for a few minor improvements. Like there are improvements that are genuinely good improvements, but had the original Dead Rising released today, those improvements could have just been an update. You know, that's what it could have been. And then there was censorship in the game as well. Like a cartoonishly Chinese character was dumbed down to be an almost appearing white guy, kind of hard to tell what race he even is. And then the word communist was removed, and the word and Viet Cong was removed from the game. And then there was also a feature with the camera, because it's a game where you're a photographer. You take pictures of things and get points for it. In the original, something you could get points for were like risque shots of female NPCs.
They took that out.
Cleavage, butts. Yeah, they removed that. So
bunch of prudes.
Yeah. So my thought on that game is it's not $70. It was $50. The original is $10.
Okay.
That is what I think you seem to view most remakes as Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. It is the same game.
It's a cash grab, is what
it is. The same game, just a couple of very minute improvements. And when there's that big of a price gap between this one and the old one, just play the old one. You get the same experience. It's no different. And the big problem here is that Capcom, after releasing Resident Evil 4's remake, which was excellent improvement, by the way, they put out a survey. And in that survey, they asked people, I got the survey, what would you like to see remade next?
Oh, Jesus.
What would you like to see remade next? And if I remember right, it was multiple choice. And they wanted us to order it from like what we wanted to see most, what we wanted to see least. And it had like Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil Code Veronica, Dino Crisis, Dead Rising. I think Dead Rising was on there. And a bunch of stuff. Okay. I want to see them remake RE5 because I think they could fundamentally change that game for the better. I don't want to see them remake any game after that because then you get into the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster territory where it's like that's the same game now. It's just barely any different.
Well, it's a slippery slope when you start making those remakes because it just like people buying microtransactions, it notifies the company going, all right, well, they want more microtransactions, right? So if you make a remaster and people buy the remaster and they're like, well, we're just going to make all the games over again in remaster form.
Well, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster was a test, and they've outwardly stated this. This is not my speculation. It was a test to see how people responded to a remaster instead of a full-blown remake. And they sent out another survey after Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster asking, is the exact same survey as before, But this time it's asking, what would you like to see as a deluxe remaster next, with mostly the same options. So what does that tell you?
Well, it means there's a lot of remakes and remasters coming in the next couple of years.
It means they are going to opt for a remaster over a remake if they can get away with it.
Sure. Because jangle the keys, right?
It's less effort to.
Of course.
It's less effort
it's
to
a
basically
minimal
take
viable
the same
product.
game.
Yeah, it's a minimal viable product, and
Yes.
they can charge more for that than they could and make more money off of that, because they don't have to pump in $300 million to make that game. They can do it for a fraction of the price and get a huge turnout for it.
Everyone watching, if you were even considering getting the Dead Rising remaster, don't buy it. It's not because it's a bad game. It's fine, but it's just as good as the original is. And if the more money they make from that, the more they're going to go, oh, wait a minute, let's stop doing remakes. Let's just do remasters instead.
We're listening. You hear?
We're listening.
Everybody wants us to make a remaster.
So that was the middling
remake.
That was the middling one. The bad one, which is hilarious to me, Until Dawn. Now, if you're familiar with supermassive games, they are basically one big cutscene, right? They're story games. You got Until Dawn, The Quarry, House of Ashes, Casting of Frank Stone.
They're movie games,
they're movie games, and I very much like supermassive games, because that is a type of game that my wife and I will sit down on the couch and play together. Like that's what she'll play with me, is a movie game. So like we love that stuff. But with Until Dawn, they remade it, and this remake of a movie game really just meant the graphics are better now. But that's what you would think. You would think, oh, well, this should just get like a remaster treatment, and that's obvious cash grab, whatever, haha. But no, they made it worse. They made it worse than the original. The color grading that defined the original is gone, like the bluish hue is gone. The soundtrack is different. I think they used all the same voice lines, and mostly the same animations.
Yeah, the licensing and stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like, how do you do that? How do you mess up a movie game remake?
Well,
how do you make that worse?
They did it with Grand Theft Auto. Remember when the definitive edition came out, and they had San Andreas and Vice City, and they remade it, but for the newer. It was awful. It was awful.
Well, can I give you a statistic that will you'll probably really like to hear?
Sure.
Until Dawn's remake at launch week sold less copies than Concord did at its launch week.
Okay, so how much do we know the number? Because it was less than 25,000 for Concord.
30% less than Concord, to be exact.
Ooh, that's nice.
So
that sends a message. That sends a message to the company.
Take that and compare it to, say, the Silent Hill 2, which, just look at the original and the remake side by side. You can see, oh, there's a dramatic difference here, because the generational leap is so big. It's over 20 years. But Until Dawn, like, I am of the opinion, my last video that I actually posted was over the self-defeating gaming industry. And I named off a bunch of different things that I think game companies, decisions they make that are just consistently net negatives for them, that don't make any sense as to why they do what they do. And one of them that I named was making lifelike, realistic, cutting-edge graphics. Graphics could have stopped in like the early to mid 2010s, and games would still look great today. They don't have to look like a movie. So Until Dawn, the only appeal between the original and the remake is the newer graphics, but the original one's graphics look fine. They still look fine. Obviously, the new ones look better, but the originals look fine. So, but then you have ones like Silent Hill, where it's literally a PlayStation 1 game. As you can imagine, like, yes, the shiny object is very much there. But yeah, man, that's so funny to me, because you have a remake, a deluxe remaster, and then a remake that could arguably just be called a remaster, all released within like 2 weeks of each other. And the reception to them has been so different. So I will forever fight you, 30, on remakes not being a good thing.
Look, remakes are all based on your nostalgia of what you loved and you wanted back. That's it.
Not for new players.
Yeah, but the new players can just go play. Like the company could have just taken those old games and put them on the system.
It
and
could.
people could, and just people go download the old games. But people are like, oh, it needs to look good. But sometimes updating the old graphics to new gen just does not transition very well sometimes because of what it was back then to what it is today. Now, I mean, think about it. Look at the old Star Wars Battlefront Classic that came out. That you could have bought the Battlefront game for like $5, but they came out with the Classic Collection and sold it. What was it, chat? Was it like 40 or 50 or something like that for the same game that was already on there that looks exactly the same? The minuscule of the graphics that they did, but it was a cash cow, and that's what most remakes are. They just look at it and go, what can we do? Well, we don't have time to make a full-fledged game for 5 years. So what about if we just take one of those other games that people loved and bring it back after 18 months of polishing?
My
and
point
put it
of
out there?
contention to you is I think you conflate remaster and remake too often.
I'll give you that, but a lot of them are a remaster though. It's same with movies. I don't like when they take old movies and just remake it or remaster. Like if you take Star Wars and remaster it to make it look better and put it on HD, 4K, whatever, cool, right? Because it's running with the new technology that's going on, and you want to see it on your new 4K television set. That's a remaster, right? A remake is just taking the same fucking story and putting new characters in there and telling them the same exact story when you don't need to do that. You could just watch the old movie again, right? Video games are a little different because of the graphical leaps that they've done over the last 40 years compared to, right? Movies, you could still watch Star Wars that's 40 years old and it looks just as good as it did 40 years ago, right?
You might want to see Han shooting first, but
sure. That's the problem. That's another problem when you start to change,
start messing with stuff.
Messing with stuff. Yeah.
One of the things about digital media I can't stand because you'll be stuck with that version if you don't have the physical.
Right. If you don't have the Laserdisc version,
I've got the VHS box set of the original trilogy on the shelf behind me.
Yeah.
I don't have a VHS player anymore, but I have my VHS box set.
You can convert them. But yeah, the quality there, and I'll agree with you. You got me on the remaster and remakes in video games are different than remasters and remakes in movies and television shows because, like I said, the remasters are just taking the same stuff and brushing it up to make it higher fidelity for the newer technology. But video games are doing it. They're doing it for cash cow. That's what they're doing.
Everything you've said about remakes and or remasters, I agree 100% when it comes to a remaster. In fact, I've been debating doing a video over remasters as basically just being like a scam. Because I think they can be. I think it's the same product that is already available to you for much cheaper. The one and only exception I would say is if an original truly is a difficult, it's a game that's difficult to access for the average gamer now. If you do not have what it came out on
the old console, right.
Yes, like an example would be Silent Hill 2. Because the PS1, it's notoriously difficult. How am I trying to form words here? It's a notoriously difficult game accessibility wise, like just to be able to play it.
Right.
So that's why they released the Silent Hill HD collection, which was a remastered box set of 3 of the games. And people hated it because they removed a lot of the fog because the fog was there in the original to hide the texture pop in. They didn't need that as much in the remaster, but that fog is what made the game give it the tone that it had. So they removed a lot of what people liked about the original for the remaster.
I agree, Krebsy. They shouldn't call it remastered. They should call it enhanced, right? Or something along those lines, right? Here's the thing, right? I love Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, right? If Xbox decided that they wanted to, because now they own Activision or whatever, right? If they wanted to remaster those or remake those, okay, would it be cool with better graphics and stuff? Sure. But all they have to do is take those games, which supposedly they are, and just throw them on Game Pass, the old games onto Game Pass, and let me play the old games, right? Like, I don't need a newer version of Ultimate Alliance. Sure, would it be cool? But they'll probably fuck it up in some way, shape, or form, and I know the old game is exactly as good as it's going to be, so just give me that game, and I don't need it remade or remastered. I just need to be able to play it from the older version on the newer system, and I think that is an easy way, because I already own that game. I already own it. I just need a way to play it. I actually have the systems that I can play on the older stuff. But if in this example, if you just give me Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 and put them on Game Pass so I can play them then and there, great. I don't need a remaster. I don't need a remake. It's just the original game that I can play on my new system.
Because of the circumstances that we're in, I agree with that. I still don't like the idea of relying on a subscription model to get a newly accessible version of an old game.
Yeah, I mean,
if you remove that part of the equation, then yes,
Nintendo's
100%.
doing the same exact thing on theirs. You can access the old and Super NES games or the NES games if you pay the $50 a month for the year, whatever it is. Then you can access the old games. I don't like it because, again, I can just plug in my old NES or my old Super NES or whatever. Yeah. But I get it. But that's why I don't like remasters and remakes in video games, because I think it's just more of a cash grab.
You've got some weird fans of remasters, though, man. Like, the people clamoring for a Bloodborne remaster has blown my mind. Just go play the game. It's not that old.
It's not that old.
I'm pretty sure reverse compatible. It is. So even if you've moved on to the PS5, you can still play it.
Well,
can you not?
Look at Horizon Zero Dawn, or Last of Us. Like, they're what are you doing remasters for?
That's the Sony special, man. We don't have enough IPs. Means we have like 4 that we'll just keep remastering over and over again.
It's so ridiculous. Just go play the older version. It's like it doesn't look that bad. You're like, did you see the skins? Look at that. Oh, it's so good. It's like,
well, if you think about a game that gets an update these days, it can be like Space Marine 2. Take that for example. They'll add a horde mode. They'll add some new weapons. They'll add some new enemies. In the mid to late 2000s, that warranted a sequel. They would make Space Marine 3, and they would add a couple of new weapons and a horde mode to it and make a new campaign, sure. But like, that was enough for people to go, oh, it's a sequel. Great. They don't really need that now. So whenever someone makes a remaster and they add some things to it, a couple of small changes maybe, now we've been trained to go, it's like this could have been an email. You know that meme? It's like, this could have been an update. Like, you didn't have to make a new game for this. That's how a lot of these remasters go. Well, it's not enough different to justify it.
Look at the PlayStation 5 Pro. They have 50 games that are, as Krebsy said, enhanced, right? They're even going back and enhancing Marvel's Avengers for the PlayStation 5 Pro. Right?
No.
Yeah.
Seriously?
They're enhancing it. Yeah.
Digging that from its grave. I thought
like why?
You could just exhuming the body. Leave that corpse alone.
Right? Like,
what is this, poltergeist?
Yeah, it's just weird to me. Are you because I haven't talked to you. Are you getting a PlayStation 5 Pro? I didn't think you were. I just want to
I still need to get just a basic PlayStation 5.
Oh, you don't have PlayStation 5?
No, I have a PS4.
I do too. I have a PlayStation 4. I don't feel like I have to upgrade yet.
Well, I don't want to buy 2 new-gen consoles at the same time. That's just a lot of money, if I'm being honest. So I made the decision, in preparation for Halo Infinite, I made the decision to get a Series X, even though it was playable on the One. That's what I've done for the last 20 years. When Halo came to a new console, I got that new console with the new Halo. That's what I did. I've learned a lot. But that was the decision I made. The PlayStation and the Xbox were both very difficult to get around that time. It's actually a miracle that I even got my Xbox. How I did, I had to basically get a plug. Like I knew a guy who was buying them and wasn't even scalping them. He was selling them at cost just because he could. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And he even included the receipt from where he got it. And I gave him that exact amount of money. I just didn't bother going through the trouble with PS5. And frankly, I don't see enough games that are exclusive to PS5 that I can't play on my PC to warrant me going and buying the console.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I couldn't get a PlayStation 5 when it was launching, and I couldn't even get an X. I only could get an S, so I bought an S just because I wanted to play some of the new stuff. Gave it to my son. About 2 years later, I got the X, and I got it by accident. I happened to be driving by a GameStop, and I pulled in, and all of a sudden I saw a guy standing outside. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, they have consoles here. I was like, what? And I just got in line next to him. I was like, and I was number 2 in line. I was like, all right, I'll get it.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even have the money at that very moment. I was like, called the wife. I'm like, hey, can you transfer some money over to that?
Yeah. I would have done the same thing. But it's just for me, my PlayStation specific games, every single one I'm interested in, I either already own or I can play on my PS4. I don't need a PS5 to play it. with the one exception. The one game that I'm like, man, I would really love to have that on console is Spider-Man 2. Despite all the conversation about Sweet Baby's involvement in it, it's one of those things I want to see for myself, because the first Spider-Man game was so good. I want to see how they could screw that up so badly in a sequel that, by all accounts, should have just been the same game again.
Do they make that? Do they make Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation 4? No, it's only on PlayStation 5.
No, it's only on 5. Yeah. That, and then Helldivers 2, which I already own. I'd have to buy it again, and I have only played one time since the whole PlayStation account debacle.
I haven't played it at all.
Well, I played one time because I downloaded a Master Chief mod to make my guy look like Master Chief.
Yep.
I got on, played around. I felt bad.
You felt dirty. You were like,
yeah, I felt dirty, and I was like, I feel like I'm doing something or supporting something I shouldn't, and I haven't played it since. And that's not me trying to make a stand or be on a pedestal. That's just how I felt when I played it.
I went
just
back
didn't
to play
feel
it.
good to me.
Yeah, I went back to play it. I had no guilt of going back to play it. But when I logged in, I got the screen for the war bonds, right? I already had 250 war bonds, which is max, right? So a war bond came up, and it was like 3 months I haven't played, right? So a war bond came up and said 0, and then another one came up and said 0, and another one came up and said 0, and another one came up and said 0. And I went, why can't I spend these before cashing those in? It just automatically did it. I was so pissed off. I went, I'm not playing this anymore, and I just logged out, and I haven't turned it back on.
Dang.
I was like, that is the stupidest.
Salty Sluggy just brought up a point. Spider-Man 2 is on PC, or at least it's gonna be. So never mind.
Yeah,
so never mind. There's no point in me getting a PS5 then.
Yeah, that unless you wanted to play Ghost of Yote, that's about it.
Well, I still got to beat Ghost of Tsushima, and I have
never
that
played it.
already.
I've never played it.
It's literally Shadow of Mordor, but on a Japanese island instead.
Yeah, I love that. I love that era, right?
So that aesthetic for gaming, I love. Like Sifu is Chinese. Help. What's the blood? Gosh, not
sounds
Sekiro.
like 2 words.
Sekiro. Sekiro. I think that's Japanese. I think it's fictional, but like it's like got that Eastern aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
And then Ghost of Tsushima. I love those kinds of games, and I really need to take the time and actually play Ghost of Tsushima through. I assume that it's going to be kind of that Ubisoft Shadow of War, Batman Arkham type of game where I go from point to point, counter, hit, counter, hit, a little bit of stealth. And I feel like I need a good gap between those types of games. Like
right,
I can't
the same.
Yeah, I can't like when I played Doom 2014 and then Doom Eternal came out. I played Doom 2014 or 2016, or whatever year it was. 2016. I played it right before Doom Eternal in preparation. I beat it, started to play Doom Eternal. I was like, yeah, I need a break. I was like, I can't play these two games.
You burnt yourself out before you even got.
I was like, I can't play these two games back to back. Made it like an hour into Doom Eternal. I was like, I'll come back. It's great so far. I'm gonna come back to it later.
Last night I played 2 demos. I played the Precinct, and it's a Grand Theft Auto-esque, but you're a cop instead of a thief. Basically, it's a top-down, really cool as a demo. I played, and then I also played Storage Hunter Simulator. And let me tell you, I didn't think I was going to play this longer than an hour and a half.
I tuned in for about 3 minutes.
I played it for 4.5 hours. And I bought it afterwards.
Selling things over a counter to people. And I was like, I appreciate that he appreciates that kind of game.
Yeah. I bought it for $20. I was like, you know what? They got me. I was like, I'll give them some money. Yeah. Those are palate cleansers for me. Those are palate cleansers.
Well, what I mentioned about loving that aesthetic is all the more reason why I'm so disappointed by Assassin's Creed Shadows. Because like I remember being in high school and me and my friends saying, man, I wish Assassin's Creed would come out with a game in Japan. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yep.
And here we are.
And you're like, boy.
Here we are 15, however many years later. And here it is. I'm like, that's what they did?
Yeah, that's not what I was asked for. Yeah,
It was
this
such
is
a
not the
slam dunk.
Batman game I asked for.
It's just this should have been their highest profiting Assassin's Creed game of all time. It
Should have been a home run, easy
slam dunk.
Yep.
Could have been. They could have copy and pasted Valhalla with Japanese paint, and it would have. They'd be swimming in money.
Nope. They said, "Hold
no.
my beer." Yep. They said, "Hold my beer." How do we screw it up worse than anything? They're like, well, the bar's pretty high because Concord was only out for 12 days, so we have to make it worse than this. Yeah.
We'll probably see a Concord tax associated with everything PlayStation for the next 10 years.
Oh God.
It's like, oh, you could have your subscription to PlayStation, whatever, PlayStation Plus, whatever. We're gonna raise that by $1.
Yeah.
Across the board. We gotta get that money back for Concord.
To make up for Concord. Yeah, that's exactly it. All right. That's gonna do it for us with chatting with the Kingerd. Kingerd, tell them what you got going on your channel.
I am within a day or two, definitely before the weekend, releasing a video on Star Wars Outlaws and the influencer promotions for Star Wars Outlaws. So
okay.
I have risen like Undertaker at his own funeral to yet again make another video calling out people for being shills.
Yeah.
And so I'm done with it. I'm making final touches. Thumbnail's done. It's ready to go. I just got to make a couple final edits, and it's coming.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll watch it. We'll watch it a couple days after so you get the views because
if I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to be totally honest, it might be more fitting if you haven't watched it already. If you wanted to react to a video of mine, to watch the last one I posted.
Okay.
Over the self-defeating gaming industry, you would
Okay.
probably have you'd probably be more interested in that one than the one I'm about to post.
All right. Don't tell me what to do, Kingerd. All right.
No, yeah, you do. You react to both of them if you want to. That's up to you. I'm just saying, you're meat and potatoes. I think you like to talk about the intricacies of the industry more so than this person shill. So
Right.
I think I'm willing to bet you would get more enjoyment out of the last one I posted than the newest
Yeah,
one.
I just don't like watching too close to when you. I like to give it breathing room, like 2-3 days.
I understand.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. I think that's awesome.
So guys, you can check us out. You can watch this after the fact. By the way, this is going up. I remember Kingerd is leading three points to. I think the other person. Everyone else is 1. Kingerd's just
Excellent.
blowing away. Yeah, he's gonna.
Excellent.
And he'll probably be back again because we're trying to set up something with Greg Owen, Kingerd, and Sarge, and on GXG for the Video Game Award show in December. So just about 2 months from now, we're gonna have all 4 of us, hopefully, and watching the Video Game Award show live and giving comments and stuff as we so go on. So appreciate it very much, chat. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do appreciate you. Go check out some of our other videos. Also, we do live podcasts, uploads, shorts, and all the other good stuff. So you guys have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.